Somebody call the doctor because bad medicine is back. That's Diamond Dave Damone. This is the Appleton Oak. That's the answer. I'm Mason Quinn. Guys, thank you all so much for joining us on the live stream here today.
Before Quinn gets any further, we got to ask for audio tests because we're lagging.
You know, he never says that. Oh, when I give you the sign, Quinn, hit it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't mean like go into a 10-minute intro.
This is huge. Oh.
So we're lagged. Can anyone hear us? Or how is the sound? I should say you probably can hear us, but how's the sound?
Sounds good. D Swizz said sounds good.
All right.
Well, as I was saying, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day today to join us. We're going to be covering a number of topics, but the big one we're looking at is our top 5 movies we've reacted to this year. I was informed that one of mine didn't count. It missed it by a few months, and I'm like, can we work with it? No, it must be within the year. So we had a lot of fun. Good to see all of you here, and I'm just excited to get rolling into this and see how we all did.
As always, let us know where you guys are checking in from so far. I think we're batting 1,000 on these the lives from having people check in from all across the globe. So drop a comment below. Let us know. It's fun for us to see. Like it's still kind of weird for me to be like, hey, watching from Australia or watching from Colombia. Like, really? Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. So that's always fun. See, Brazil. There we go. Chicago, just a little bit south. Belgium. I am
Arizona.
I am
France,
actually a quarter
Sweden?
Belgium.
Holy crap. You open the floodgates
nationality and a quarter German. So there we go. Checking in. South Africa, Germany, Indonesia, Massachusetts, Missouri, Atlanta, Texas, Costa Rica, South Wales, Japan, England, Ohio, Sweden, St. Louis.
The studio.
The UK, Dallas, Maryland, Romania, New Zealand. Been to Auckland once. That was beautiful. Minnesota. Cows are dumb from Minnesota. The Middle East, Cali, Austria, India, Norway, Texas, California. Wow.
I'm jealous of everyone with warm weather.
Yeah, I know. I'm seeing all these come in. Look at that. Mexico, UK, all that stuff. Egypt, Portugal.
Like in Mexico, do you think they're like, it was a little chilly today. I had to put on something with sleeves.
Yeah, no kidding.
Real quick, too, folks, we are going to save, if you are interested in doing super chats, we are actually going to save those to the back end. So those will get turned on probably in about 45 minutes or so, give or take, depending on where we're at in this session of giving you our top 5. But we are saving those to the back end if you have super chats. So just wanted to give you that just in case you're like wondering, where's super chats? That's the game plan. So we'll probably reiterate that throughout the stream here, just in case the people are coming in.
You might come in. So. Sure. Yep. South of France, Guatemala, India.
Nice.
Well, gentlemen, how do you want to go into this? How
should
we do our...
Well, start with the answer.
Well, it's called the answer scale for a reason, but... We're going to start off, obviously, it's our top 5 of 2022.
Of our reactions.
Of our reactions. That's to clarify, that we watched in 2022. And this, I chose as number 5, and I thought it was a surprise because we weren't sure how it was going to turn out. But Maze Runner, the first one, the second one was pretty good, so was the third one. But the original was awesome because I had no clue what we were getting into, and just how the maze moved and everything. And then the cast that I saw was a really solid cast as well that have gone on to do bigger and better things. But also the drummer from Love Actually that you guys got to watch, you got to see him as a little guy playing the drums, and then there you see him in Maze Runner. So yeah, that was my number 5.
Nice, that's a solid pick answer, and mine will be a bit in the same genre of yours. For me, this was another surprise for me that I had no idea what this movie was about, and I was completely wrong going into it. For me, my number 5 movie of the year is Hunger Games, the first one.
Boom.
Again, complete shocker, and the ride that series of movies took us on was just incredible. The acting, the writing, the way it made you think, just a very deep movie, so much more than what I originally thought it would be, which was a teen romance with somebody who happens to use a bow and arrow, and I couldn't be more wrong.
And we got to see the rise of the stardom that is Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah, that was really her big jump.
Hunger Games was a big surprise to me as well. I think I think, going into Potter, it was like, okay, and you guys all know I was like, oh, this was a kid's movie. And then going into Hunger Games, I'm like, oh, this is a teenage movie. I think I've done a pretty good job of trying to curtail my preconceived notions. Although Twilight
Spoilers!
going into that, maybe not. I could see. But Hunger Games, I thought was just a phenomenal series. And those of you who watched our reactions, actually, I had mentioned so much how the first one just made me feel gross and was very disturbing. And I think I gave the first one like the lowest score out of all of them.
You did.
And I think some people were like, oh, he just doesn't like it. And then like it lived like in my head for a couple of days. I'm like, wow, that's a really like messed up plot.
When you say it lived in your head for a couple of days, to me at least, I'll just use me. That means it's a sign of really absolutely good writing when you're thinking about the movie for like, or TV show for like days after you've seen it. To me, that's awesome writing.
Yeah, look, and I think I had said,
it lives in your head.
If it was like, even if the plot of the show, even if they were like, hey, we're gonna pick 18 to 30-year-olds, I'd have been like, okay, this is interesting. But hey, we're gonna bring 12-year-olds in. I was like, pass. That was rough for me. But Hunger Games was a really pleasant surprise, as was Maze Runner. I thought Maze Runner was gonna be like Hunger Games light, or
like a low budget knockoff.
Because remember, we went from Hunger Games into Maze Runner, so that's why it was a huge surprise.
It felt like it was kind of in that same genre, but its own very unique story. So those were both really good. Coming into this year, watched a lot of movies that were higher profile movies that were just never on my personal radar, and movies that I got to be honest, I would have likely never watched if it wasn't for this channel and you guys recommending these movies. So I am going to say, in the interest of full disclosure, we didn't do a reaction for it, but I have to throw out a huge shout out to Maverick, because if I'm picking my favorite movie of the year, I got to go with Maverick. As you guys may have seen, we all wanted to see it in the theaters.
Yeah. We couldn't contain ourselves.
So we did a review, a no spoilers review after the movie was done, but we didn't do it for a reaction. So I just want to throw that out there. People are like, "What this guy didn't like Maverick?" So we didn't do a reaction for it. So it's being omitted from our favorite movies of the year. Again, as Diamond David said, just the movies we did reactions for. Arguably the most fun that I have ever had
tight spider
watching
monkeys.
a movie. And I can think of a handful of movies where I like those movies where you have just that gut-busting laugh. Some of the Jackass movies, there's been a few movies that have really gotten to me. And my number 5 movie of 2022 was Twilight.
Number 1.
My number 5.
No, but I mean the first movie in the series.
Twilight number 1. Yes, I'm sorry. Twilight number 1. Thank you.
Well, he didn't specify because just Twilight is Twilight.
Well,
he didn't say new moon or breaking
all right,
dawn.
easy, Mr. Actually.
Twilight was, it's a movie that unless you live completely under a rock, it exists. If you're a meme connoisseur like me, you've seen a handful of them, although I did find out there was one meme I've seen for years that I didn't know was from Twilight, which was amazing. But the movie was so much fun to watch with my friends, and we laughed hard. I mean, really hard. You guys were like so awesome in the comments, and I think that was the thing for the people who were like legit Twilight fans. You guys didn't come after us for thanks for crapping on our favorite movies. I think, and there was just so many different viewpoints. People who watched it when they were young and can rewatch it now and kind of be like, okay, they're different movies. People who watched it when they were young and still watch it with this sense of nostalgia. I gotta be honest, guys. I did go back and rewatch Twilight.
You did. You didn't even tell us that.
I went back. So I went back and rewatched Twilight. But so here's the headspace I tried to put myself into. I tried to put myself into the headspace, and it's difficult to do with this movie, right? So let's not pretend. I tried to put myself into the headspace if I was seeing this in the theaters and I was about 16 or 17 or that target demographic, and you do watch it a little bit different, it's hard to it's hard not to laugh with some of the lines, but like I'm picturing myself in the theater with a date, kind of being like, okay, she loves this, so we're gonna watch it, and going through it, and you know, it was equally as enjoyable, because I gotta be honest, I still laughed pretty hard. But look, like I said, an incredibly fun movie. If you're somebody who hasn't seen this movie, if you haven't seen this, if you haven't, he said, "Bro, rewatch." I gotta be honest, if you haven't seen this movie, and I've told people, like I told my brothers this over Christmas, and I'm like, "You guys gotta watch this movie." They're like, no, and so I made my brothers and half of my family watch our reaction, and my brothers, they were dying laughing. So I loved it. As far as a quality movie, does it deserve it to be in the top 5? Probably not. As far as an entertainment value and just
That's what
the
matters.
amount of fun that I had watching this movie, Twilight, the #1 Twilight, taking the 5th place spot for my best of 2022.
Yeah, I mean, I think Twilight had all of us in the first scene where Robert Pattinson was in the science lab and looked like he was going to throw up when he saw Bella, and all of us were like, what is going on? It's so insane. And it was nonstop from then on. That was a lot of fun. Absolutely.
I think my favorite part of the first Twilight, which I didn't even realize that we did until somebody dropped it in the captions and put the time, when she's reading the books and learning about vampires and stuff, and then they cut to the old scene where it was actually Bella and Edward. If you missed it, there's about a 2 seconds where all three of us lean to the left right where she's doing her forget research, and we were like, did they really do that? Answer taking off his headphones and throwing them. I forget which particular line that was to, but man, we had so much fun watching Twilight, and I gotta be honest, like I did really, it was like method watching, you know? When I did the rewatch, it was method watching. All right, I'm 16, I'm in the
put
theaters,
myself in that
I'm on a date, and you definitely look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all 40 or on 40's doorstep watching these movies.
Oak just likes it because he got a bunch of new pickup lines.
That's Quinn has used a few.
I don't know if I have the
based on
strength
Quinn
to
has.
stay away from you anymore.
Those are some great.
You don't know how long I've waited for
the
you.
baseball scene is iconic.
Yep.
Oh my god, that is.
Like they couldn't have played baseball with like a tennis. They were playing with an aluminum bat, the loudest baseball apparatus
Lightning crack.
you have.
They probably would have broke because they're so strong. They would have snapped them.
Exactly. If you're so strong and hitting it, it's gonna just explode the baseball.
Oh my
Wooden
god!
bats do that in the MLB sometimes. If you hit
The movie,
it just
it's so much fun, and even we're working our way through. But man, that first one. Oh, there's not. It was funny. We mentioned during the reaction. Oh, there's nothing like that first, like the first really falling in love with somebody. That first relationship.
Jasper,
the first
looking like he's.
the first breakup, Jasper.
Oh my god, Jasper's
But there's nothing like those first loves, the first breakup, and I got to be honest, there is nothing like watching Twilight for the first time with your friends.
And Krista, that's the line. You give me everything just by breathing.
Oh my God.
All right. I don't want to take away from Diamond Dave here before this becomes a Twilight live stream.
That's a great combo. First off, I do want to say having this channel with all of you being a part of it, it's awesome because I'd say we're pretty passionate about film and TV, because even in our group text, we're talking about Walking Dead, or like Quinn, all four of us talking about what just happened in Twilight or whatever movie it is. So it's awesome to see all of you be as passionate as we are, and it's kind of cool to be all around here with you to chat it out, whether it's in the comments or these live streams. Personally, I think it's really awesome because outside of these four and all of you, I don't talk to anyone about movies.
I know, like nobody.
So it's really cool to have, like I said before, this bad metaverse, so to speak. So again, thank you all for being a part of this because it's friggin' awesome.
Oh yeah.
Now I'll go on to my number 5.
All right, that's
my number
what
5
I'm
reaction.
excited
So,
for.
I will say a lot of it was nostalgia, but it also did very well for me for the story, for what, because I had no expectations coming in. I was just basically telling myself, just don't suck. So I thought it lived up to at
Always
least.
a great reason.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it lived up to my portion of my expectations, which were set low, and then it totally exceeded them. I will say, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, Paul Rudd, he is amazing. So, folks, number 5 for me, we started it last January, is Ghostbusters, The Afterlife.
Just made it under the wire.
Yeah, and-
I had to double check.
Yeah, and I...
January 31st.
For the reaction, these guys were, I don't know if you saw it or not, but if you have, you probably saw me a couple times in there when they got the ambulance. It was like, give me the siren. Just give me the siren. And they finally did. They kept it old school. I was a huge fan of the first 3 as a kid, just nonstop watching those. So I was pleasantly satisfied with the remake here, and the cast and crew did very well, and I'm happy that the second one for this is coming out. I am jacked for that. So
Did you happen to watch the cartoon too? As a
the
kid?
cartoon I did fancy a little bit. I just don't have a lot of memory of it, but I know I watched it.
Okay,
So
that, I was just wondering because I watched the cartoon too as a kid.
yeah, Bill Murray. I mean, just back in the day with his smart ass in the first ones. Again, that's why I'm glad they had Paul Rudd. They kind of, Paul Rudd was being Paul with mixed a little bit with his character. The kid, Egon's granddaughter, I don't remember her name, but she did awesome
Yeah.
as the lead role. Well, to me, it was the lead role in that. And then the rest of the kids that were involved were really great too. So again, the cast crushed it, loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a risk that you run, I think, when you're remaking one of the most iconic movies of the 1980s ever, because you're going to have to please, the hardcore fans. You're going to have to bring in a whole new audience into it and make it interesting enough. You're going to have to balance that line of 80s nostalgia with today's modern, how things are, I suppose would be the way to say it. And like the way that Cobra Kai had to do, I think, in the first season, they kind of had to do that balance a little bit. And I agree with you, Diamond Dave. I thought Ghostbusters was fantastic. They kept the action moving. Nothing was drawn out. It was just a lot of fun at the movies.
And real quick, that emotional moment of seeing Harold Ramis,
Oh, man.
dude, they nailed that. That was, to me, it was awesome to see. Glad they paid some homage to him, and the way they brought him back in that, it did hit emotionally. So, again, all good. It was great. Loved it.
Yeah, I think for Ghostbusters, one of the biggest things for me was they really, really nailed it with the cast. Yeah. I mean, everybody was perfect. The child actors, Paul Rudd. I mean, the interesting thing about Paul Rudd is he's the same character in every movie basically, and you wonder how Paul Rudd, just how he is going to fit into a movie, and he fit into that role perfectly. He's the summer school teacher who doesn't really want to be there, and all of a sudden
They're watching 80s movies.
You're watching Cujo. It's a classic Cujo. Like what?
That was nice.
But he finds a student that he has something in common with, and the classic kind of like funny rom-com love story about falling in love with the mom. They did some really funny stuff. With
She was
that.
great too.
Yeah, she was phenomenal. I just thought it was great, and like the plot of the movie, that like even after passing, the grandpa the whole time was just like still trying to help. That was the one thing I didn't expect from Ghostbusters, is for it to get a little bit it did get a little bit emotional, because you like to think you do what you can with the time on this earth. And, I don't think anybody really knows what happens when your time is done, but man, wouldn't it be nice if you could still lend a helping hand from time to time. And that was a cool thing for them to throw in there.
Real quick, before we go to answers number 4, I just saw some comments asking about Last of Us and Wednesday. Folks, 1,000% we are doing Last of Us.
Yep.
We are jacked. We
I'm
don't know
playing
who's
the
all
video
doing-
game right now, too.
We don't know who's all being a part of it. If it's all 4, if it's just 2 or 3, but 1,000% that's being done. Wednesday, Oak wants that done. It's just a matter of finding the time to get it in. You may 50-50. You may see that coming. So I just want to address that while I saw that there real quick.
So we're going in to number 4.
Number 4.
Well, for me,
He's laughing already.
it's Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets. So that's the second one, solely for one scene and one scene only, for Ron hitting Lockhart right over the head with the brick and then going, well, what do I do now? That is solely, I think that was one of the best pops of the entire year for me in the movies. Was definitely that, and that's why I had to get it on the list because I definitely had to put that in there. And then that's when we started to see the turn though too, from him starting to get Harry starting to get older, and you started to see them turning into teenagers. It started, I think, right at the end of that movie where it started getting a little darker and everything. So that's why, but it's still Ron just smacking the brick is still got to be one of my favorite scenes from the entire.
Yeah, I mean,
movie.
that Harry Potter, I think, was a lot of fun because it, like you said, it did start to raise the bar a little bit in terms of the level of danger, in terms of the themes a little bit like that. It started to pick up. Now, obviously, the later movies are where it really kicked into gear, but you will simply find no argument from me, from anyone who puts any of the Harry Potter movies in their top 5, because I thought they were all a lot of fun. And again, another series of movies that really surprised me. You guys were all awesome in the comments on that, so nothing but love.
And thank you very much. That also, I forgot to write that part down. Yes, it's also the introduction of Dobby. He's in the second one too. God, thank you for refreshing my memory on that. I knew there was 2 reasons, but
you know, I was still I don't even want to say a little hesitant because that's a
little skeptical.
I wasn't loving it, and in Chamber of Secrets yet. I think I shouldn't say I think. I remember it very, very clearly. I know that I recognized the movies as what I thought were good kids movies, and I understood why parents took their kids to watch them. But anybody who's gone through the Harry Potter reactions knows that I was absolutely not sold by Chamber of Secrets. Prisoner of Azkaban is when I really started to realize, like, okay, this is, now we're getting some sort of substance. And of course, as you get further into the movies, as I've talked, you look different. Like the Sorcerer, the Philosopher's Stone, and Chamber of Secrets weren't kids movies at all. They were just the beginning of this coming of age story, much like one of my favorite movies that I talk about, Stand By Me. So that's, and I still use that example for people now who kind of laugh, you know, when I tell them, you know, we watched the Harry Potters and we loved it. Oh, really? Aren't those kids movies? I'm like, not at all. Yeah. I said it is a story that starts with these group of young people, and it grows with them. And you know, older people, you know, we're not that old, but when somebody's in their late 30s or older, they're probably going to recognize the movie Stand By Me, which features kids, but is not a kids movie at all. So I am a little surprised you put and just for the record, like we don't all know each other's for this live. Like nobody knows. We joke a little bit about whatever, but we don't all have each other's lists figured out. So I am a little bit surprised that for all 8 Potters, you went with Chamber of Secrets.
Hey, that's just number 4. We don't know what's coming yet.
There were certain scenes throughout the course of the entire Potter series that were just absolute grand slams, where it was like, and nobody expected that. Like, okay, and Ron Weasley's got a brick. So that was a fun movie.
Well, and then someone brought up where the Lockhart coming up too, where he was like, oh, "What is this, magic?" Because remember, they took his because he tried using Ron's broken wand.
Gilderoy Lockhart.
And then we got to see him as a bad guy in Tenet, so that was really fun to see him. Do you have anything to add on to this one?
No, when it comes to Chamber, well, my favorite were more Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, but I'll save that for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody asked what my number 5 was. It was The Hunger Games. So I don't know if we'll have
we can run through
something that will wrap up. That will wrap up later,
up.
whatever. Just because people might be jumping in a little bit late or whatever.
And real quick again, if you're just joining the stream, we will have super chats available more and later on in the stream if you are interested in giving us super chats. Right now we have them turned off just so we can get through, and then we'll turn them on.
All right, guys. Well, for my number 4, this one takes a bit of a turn from the movies that we've had so far, and this one was a really big surprise, not only I think for all of us, but I think for a lot of people out there who watched it. We even saw it with the numbers that it did on our channel and how it grew. For me, my number 4 is Black Phone, an absolute surprise of a movie.
Surprise for me.
That, you know, not your typical gore and scare type horror movie, but we saw it on our numbers where Black Phone, it just continued to grow and grow and grow, and people kept checking out. And I think it was like a word of mouth type movie where it didn't have a ton of advertising. It maybe didn't have a lot of hype. There certainly wasn't people at baseball games smiling like for the movie Smile, and it got that kind of free publicity. So I really, really love the story of Black Phone. Was it supernatural? What were the thoughts in the young boy's head? Some of the scenes in there were really rough to watch, but they just sucked you in, and it was just a movie that just grew, and people just kept watching it and watching it and watching it. And again, for me, Black Phone at number 4 was basically a no-brainer. A lot of fun. It really made you think.
Yeah, I got to be honest, Black Phone was a little bit tough for me. And as a newish parent, I have a little boy who's a little over 2 now. As a newish parent, I got to be honest, there's nothing that I can't imagine anything that you would fear more than your child going missing. Look, there's a lot of bad things that can happen, but your child going missing and not knowing what happened to them, to me, that's like my greatest fear, period. And so the movie touches on that. The movie was brilliantly done. Like Mason Quinn had said, like, is it supernatural that the people are coming to talk to him to help out, or is this stuff that he's figuring out as he goes along?
Yeah, because the way it was directed, they showed us that he saw many of the clues, but maybe it was like subconsciously.
Is it like he's looking around the room and figuring stuff out, Like,
so I kind of want to add, while I'm thinking about it right there. So after we had the reaction up, people in the comments brought it to, at least to my attention, like the daughter had abilities, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Not once, and it clearly showed in the reaction, not once did I think about the kid, the boy, having abilities. And people in the comments were like, well, he got these abilities from his mom. That's how he's able to see X, Y, and Z. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the kid having it. And it's made
it's
tons
always fun
of sense. Yeah.
You hear theories and everything, and like just shown a whole new light on you.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, if I had those kind of glasses on during it.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how terrifying Ethan Hawke was in that
He
performance.
was amazing.
Wow. I mean, just a beast.
And they did a good job with, like, and we've seen a handful of these shows, whether it be a TV show or a movie that's based on, like stuff that happened in the 70s and 80s. And they do this kind of gritty way of filming it that like really sucks you in. Like they could film it like, and you could have, older cars and older outfits and stuff like that, and have it be, retro in that regard. But just the way they're shooting some of these, and the cinematography really makes you feel like, that you're taken back. But Diamond Dave brings up a really good point, that it's kind of this catch-22 of doing reactions is when you watch a movie and you don't have all the details necessarily that you need to put the puzzle pieces together, like you miss things sometimes. And that's why we're pretty adamant, and it's not just lip service. We love reading the comments, and you guys help us out so much in the comments, but sometimes I almost feel like it would be nice to sit down and be briefed before a movie. Like, okay, here's the movie. Here's this character. No spoilers. This character has this powers, and you'll understand why that's important later. But some of the movies like
sometimes
this,
that could take away though.
Because
you got that preconceived notion. You're like,
part of the fun of watching movies like Black Phone, and fun might not be necessarily the right word, is trying to figure it out like as you go. Yeah. Like you're not just when you the movie like Black Phone, you're not just sitting back and watching a movie. Like you're trying to figure it out. Like you're thinking what's going on. And so there's this thought process that's going to your head. Look, some movies were just spoon fed. Here's a comedy. They're going to tell you a joke, laugh. Here's an action movie. Watch the explosion. Watch them take an 80s compact car into outer space. And you just kind of laugh and you go along with the action. This movie was very much, you feel like you're involved. You're trying to like, what if this happens? What if this happens? Yeah. What if this? And then it's a very, I guess, almost interactive experience. And Dave, you're right. I think if if people were to kind of lay out some of the parameters and give you just enough details, it may make it so it's not that kind of experience.
And I do see some people in the comments where they're kind of like us like you at the end of The Walking Dead. Don't show me any previews. Some just don't watch the trailer because sometimes the trailer gives some a little too much information, and they're like, they don't want that. They just want to go in to be surprised. So I get that too.
And just the last thing I want to say real quick about Black Phone is the fact that they shot it as a period piece, if you could say that, because of when it was, shot 70s, 80s, that sort of thing. It gives the way you can write it so different because no satellite tracking, no cell phones, no cameras everywhere. You can really, you really have to dive in to a different world where the technology wasn't there, and to try to solve these cases and things, it makes it that much more difficult.
That's a very good point.
It's almost comical watching 80s movies when they're like, and they cut the phone line. You're like, what?
Yeah, go ahead, cut it.
I got my phone right here. They're like, that was the thing. And they cut the phone, and you're like helpless inside your home. No Ring cameras. Who done it? Like, like they had to go off your footprints, and they go to the local Foot Locker to try to find out who bought a size 9 Adidas 620.
I see like Brian right there with Back to the Future right there.
Yeah, there's some.
Yeah, I will say, so somebody just commented, Shotgun Betty, that she comes for the laughs and not the tears and the serious stuff. And look, I think we all agree that the majority of stuff that we like doing is kind of like the action and the comedies and stuff. But, we're a reaction channel, and some of the movies that you guys request are the movies that have a little bit more serious content. And if it's a popular movie and it's a big movie that comes out, or if it's a movie that had been done in the past and it's highly requested, we're going to watch a bunch of those. Look, we're not going to sit here and come week to week and have it be, have it be like just a Debbie Downer fest. But look, if a movie's highly rated and it really struck a chord with audiences, regardless of whether it's a laugh or stuff's blowing up, we're going to take a look at it. But we certainly understand people who are like, yeah, you know what, we didn't watch that one. I come here to laugh, and that's understandable. All right. So, all right.
Oak,
well,
on to you.
I think this one will be a little less of a shock for some people. No spoilers. It's Diamond Dave. That's right. My number 4 movie of 2022 is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Nice. Somebody had commented before. They thought that's when I really got into the series. And I think that's about right. I had like Prisoner of Azkaban, like it was like, oh, now you've got my attention, And then Goblet of Fire was like, oh, this is super relatable, Like I remember like asking people to dances and like all the nerves and all the funny moments that you had like going through the typical teen romance stuff. But Order of the Phoenix was when I feel like I really got invested. One, I don't know that I've ever disliked the movie character. It would be a toss-up between like the mom from Notebook or Dolores Umbridge.
Yeah, Dolores Umbridge.
Oh, God.
Like brutal.
So Dolores Umbridge, and then I just thought Order of the Phoenix was such a powerful message. You had all these young kids who were going to this school and learning about wizardry and witchcraft, and they got to a point where they had authority or the adults telling them, think less. Act less, do less,
and do it all in theory.
And Harry saw like the right. That's not the right thing to do. And even if somebody else tells you sit down and be quiet, and in your heart that that's not the right thing to do, then you have to take action. And they took action. They found the room of requirement, which clearly, I think that put it out there that this is the right thing. And they started teaching themselves. And I think that's a really important life lesson. Like, look, things aren't always going to be, crystal clear. You're not always going to have people encouraging to do the things that you do. And as we saw in other Potter movies, lessons from Dumbledore, that the right decision isn't always the easy decision. And I really felt that in Order of the Phoenix. And I said a couple of times, like, man, this feels like this feels like a Hogwarts, like Rocky movie. Like some of the speeches he gave.
He was waiting to hear Hearts on Fire.
Like, yeah. I was like, man, you throw an 80s montage in a sweatsuit on Harry Potter, and this is a Rocky movie. So I guess it's
got the log.
Yeah, like Harry walking
I always love when you
walking through the
were doing
forest.
that outside for no reason.
And the mom from Titanic. The mom from Titanic is pretty bad too.
It's can do no wrong.
It's always like the mom butting in on relationships. But Order of the Phoenix is when the movies really started maturing, and it really was like, damn, like these movies teach a lesson, and these aren't just kids learning spells and stuff like that. And this is about like. This is about life, you know, like this is about real life. And I just found it so powerful. And for as much as I dislike Dolores Umbridge, I think her character, look, they made
someone to hate
her
much,
that
though. He needed
unlikable
that.
because they know, like, look, there's going to be people in life that you're going to run into like that. And look, in a lot of cases, people that you're supposed to listen to. Oh, you know what was she saying? Oh, we don't need to learn that spell, or we don't need to practice. You don't need to know it.
Very textbook, and that's
you don't need
not
to
what they
practice it. You just need to know it. You know, and what did she say? Something like, we don't want progress just for the sake of progress.
Yeah.
I forget how that exact quote goes. Yeah. But so for me, Order of the Phoenix is where I really, really started getting, and I know this is a strong term, emotionally invested into the Harry Potter franchise.
Well, you should be.
Yeah, I mean, that was for watching you guys and doing some of the edits on that. That was I didn't have a problem with the first one, like the Oak did, but I could see why or where some would for the first one. But yeah, you guys are totally right. And you folks were 1,000% right. It was awesome to see the patience of all of you, but the story just went like there was no nosedive at all at one part at any moment in those 8 movies. It was just rocket.
And so someone just said that Luna was introduced. Well, that's where he bought. It was a surprise wand. It wasn't labeled in the box.
Yeah,
it was
totally
a surprise.
random.
You open it, and he gets Luna, and we're like, "Who is this?
Luna?"
We don't know this. Literally 10 minutes later, here she is.
She was a brilliant character. It was
Progress
so
for the sake of
interesting
progress
how
should be discouraged.
progress for the sake of progress should be discouraged. Thank you. Luna was such an interesting character, and she was so different from everybody else there, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
She was wise. You know, that was the thing, is she was low key, she was wise. I thought her character was brilliant. And this whole movie, when Harry was helping people, doing their own Patronuses, and when Neville started, that was another big thing. Harry, in Order of the Phoenix, really felt when Harry started helping Neville believe in himself. And you guys, if you've watched the movies, if you've watched our roundtables, and if you've seen these other lives, you know how I feel about Neville Longbottom.
What are Nargles, Oak?
What are Nargles? But I feel like, and there's something really powerful in that. And I've touched on similar stuff in other films. And there's one thing to believe in yourself. Like, I believe in myself. And some people just have that. Some people just have that, like, internal power, or that's how they were. And that sort of self-confidence doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. So to believe in yourself is one thing, and that's something we're preached. Believe in yourself, believe in yourself. But there's so much power, and it's to being the person that helps somebody else believe in themselves. Yep. And when we saw that with Harry and Neville, and all of a sudden Neville's like, well, man, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. That was powerful for me. So top 5 for me, Order of the Phoenix had to be on my list.
Yeah, I mean, Order of the Phoenix was great, and I think we did it in one of our extra bonus Harry Potter type videos that we may have done. But as a fellow Ravenclaw myself, Luna, I believe, was my favorite character of the whole series. So that was a lot of fun to finally see her.
Slytherin, because he said he wanted a black cat.
Yeah, that was the main reason. Well, I had one growing up, so.
Yeah, so I saw a couple comments come in. Folks, I have been lacking. I still got to do all the houses and all the snorting quizzes and all that too. So
there's now an app on your phone, Dave, that you could do it.
Maybe we should do another live stream of that where I dive in. But my number 4,
here we go.
I don't know if a lot of people will be a fan of this one, because I think you either loved the movie or you did not like the movie. But for me, there was some uniqueness to it. Of course, it drifted into some weirdness, but the characters that came into this movie were absolutely awesome. Slight fan service, but then also given at least me some hope that maybe we see them again in the future. So my number 4 is Doctor Strange. Multiverse of Madness. Yep. I understand if you are like Dave, you're nuts. But I was.
Why must you hurt us like this? Get sorted.
Sorry. Eventually, we'll get the quizzes going for Diamond Dave here. I actually did enjoy the Multiverse Madness. Scarlet Witch.
A fun one.
It was great to see her just go full throttle antagonist in this. At least in my opinion, I know they kind of wrote her to be antagonist or protagonist, depending on what side of the fence you want to be.
Definitely.
Yep. And then seeing, of course, the Fantastic Four, seeing moments from What If all coming to life. Professor Xavier was in. We were popping like crazy for that.
Yeah, they didn't last long.
They did not last long at all with Scarlet Witch.
Thunderbolt.
And again, with the way Sammy and Marvel were able to bring some of the cinematography in for that. I mean, we had musical notes for a fight scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the creativity that came out of this was fantastic. Again, I do agree with some that, story probably could have been a little tighter, a little bit more fruitful, more rich.
Like more
multiverse, because a lot of people said Everything Everywhere is what the multiverse movie should have been. No disagreement for me there. Again, it was great to see a lot of the fan service in that film. So that's my number 4.
Yeah,
you also have to mention the cameo of Bruce Campbell. Come on.
And like that was the saving grace, was me getting to see one of my favorites, Bruce Campbell.
Quinn will like that one. All movies
known by Hollywood as having one of the best headshots ever. Bruce Campbell.
I got to be honest. Like
Shotgun Betty. I think you're the first one I've seen that says Elizabeth Olsen ruined it for me. But again, I feel like people can tear that apart and they're not wrong. People can brag about it and they're not wrong. So
yeah, I think you're right, Dave. I think it's a very polarizing almost movie. You either love it or you don't. I know me and the Oak weren't the hugest fans of it. Only because I have my Marvel favorites that I like, and Doctor Strange is cool, and I was expecting so much out of that movie. I was expecting so much craziness and whatnot, and it delivered on some levels there, but it did fall a bit flat for me.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite of the Marvel movies. Look, I am all about movies that make you think, that have plot twists and deep stories. Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder. Don't get me started. But
you like Twilight.
Sometimes with like some of these action movies, like there are certain types of movies where I don't want to think too much, and that may sound like relax.
Fair enough,
this isn't a strain on your brain to go watch a movie, but it just wasn't one of my favorite movies. And look, coming up from childhood, you knew the Hulk, you knew Captain America, you knew Iron Man. Doctor Strange was never, one of my favorite superstars, or rather, comic book heroes, whatever you want to call it. And so even now, as an adult, when you see these movies, it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't have the nostalgia factor. Yeah. It doesn't, like, watching Doctor Strange never takes me back to my childhood or awakens like this young person in me who's so excited to see, one of my favorite, superheroes, brought to life on screen. So I like his character. I think it's interesting. I think his kind of snide comments and his sarcasm at times.
Benedict is great.
Yeah, but it's just the Doctor Strange story just isn't. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, and I think the other problem that casual comic book fans like you and I run into, Oak, is that with DC and Marvel having their feuds that many of you in the comments have let us know about, who created what character first, and this one was made back in the 20s and Marvel copied it in the 60s or whatever it might be. You start to run into a lot of that. So as casual fans, we see Doctor Strange, and then we see who was the DC guy that we saw in...
Dr. Fate.
Yeah, then we see Dr. Fate. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I just saw Doctor Strange. Now you're showing me Dr. Fate. not being a comic book fan, you don't know that one came before the other. We're only going off the movies that have been presented to us. So I think they run into a lot of problems there with characters that are pretty much exactly the same, and the casual fan just kind of scratches their head.
This is a good opportunity for us to kind of come out and say with after we watched Black Adam and after we did the review, of course we did receive some heat, probably me more than these guys for some of my comments. After we cut camera, we did sit here and actually looked up the characters to see when they were first created. Of course, Dr. Fate and Adam were well created before Deadpool and
the
Doctor
whole Shazam
Strange.
used to be Captain Marvel. There's that's the whole DC, them working together to be.
Now that again, right? What Oak was saying, you go, if we were to get that education before coming in the movie, would that have changed our opinions in our review for sure? But at the end of the day, Mason Quinn's not wrong when Marvel beats him to the punch, and even though DC
on the screen,
even though DC had the characters created first, just Marvel got to the screen first. So casual people who don't view the comics, of course, they're going to get that lack.
Right.
So
that's one thing that comes along with being a casual comic book fan.
Nice Jack's World.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I bring up my older brothers sometime on this channel because they're like, my middle brother is diehard Lord of the Rings. My oldest brother is like comic, So, there's times where like some of the stuff that you guys are dropping in the comments makes me laugh even harder because my brothers are like, who's Black Adam? No, what? Wait a minute, heard of the guy. He's a very powerful superhero. He's capable of doing
He's
this.
an anti-hero.
Okay,
it's a great benefit you have though of your brothers.
And but they bring a different. Like I joke, my brother had his 4-year-old's watching Lord of the Rings. I'm like, maybe like the orcs will give the kid nightmares.
I got him swords.
All right, so I had to do a quick change on number 3 because as you went on Marvel, I had to
you
cross
realized
one
you
of them
did.
off.
I think that says a lot about what's really in your heart.
I was gonna say
Spider-Man. No, because Spider-Man, because we got to see Toby back as Spider-Man. We got to see everyone and Andrew Garfield, and so we got to see kind of closure with his character. And then he had Tom Holland who does a great job telling the story of how Tobey Maguire was the only one that didn't have to pad his butt in his costume. So he was actually still looking good at his old age as Spider-Man. And then you got to see Willem Dafoe come back and just be amazing. And then I'm kind of a scientist myself.
Oh God,
Your favorite meme.
Yeah.
So that's where I had
Bruce
to
Campbell.
get it back in. Where was
He was the hot dog. No, I'm sorry.
That's Marvel.
That was the Doctor
that's
Strange.
That's Strange.
Sorry, guys.
But then
Get him, guys.
Then you got to see the fight between Strange and Spider-Man, especially when he knocked him out and he still was trying to grab it. But for me, it was obviously the bringing Toby in, and just everyone else was just icing on the cake after that.
Yeah.
That was the big time for me.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home, it was called, right?
Yep.
Again, casual fan here, guys. But they had, you talk about a movie that had something to live up to. Once the rumors got out that they were going to have both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in there, I mean, they had to have been sitting around that board meeting being like, guys, we cannot screw this up. Everything has to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb. Everybody they were bringing back. And let's not forget, you had to have some kind of story in there that was compelling. And they did all of those things. As a casual comic book fan, Spider-Man
I loved every second
was enjoyable answer. I can agree with you on that one. It was a lot of fun. And again, if nothing else, they had so much to live up to. They could not afford a miss.
The only part you didn't get to see was Bully Maguire.
I know. Why did they have...
That's his favorite part.
Guys, if they missed, I think that's the only reason I didn't give it a higher score, because they didn't have Tobey Maguire being Bully Maguire in there. I mean,
Doing
just
his little
once.
dance.
They could have teased it. They could have done something.
Technically, they had Venom in there. Maybe they could have worked something out.
I hope they do. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, that movie was so much fun for me. I mean, having all three Spider-Mans was incredible. What did they say? Did you bring your suit, or are you just gonna hang out dressed like the cool youth pastor? I mean, the back and forth, like at the end where it was like, I lost my MJ, and like it got emotional, so they hit you with that. I mean, they had Jamie Foxx, they brought back Dr. Ock. I mean, just the fact that they threw the fact that the writers and the people who made this movie threw in I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. Just like they knew, like, hey guys, look, this has been like the one of the top like 5 memes of all time. Let's give something to the fans in a moment that is just going to make people's hearts smile. We
Especially
died during
meme
that.
bro over here.
I think Tom Holland was like, there's so much pressure to take over as Spider-Man. I remember when Tobey Maguire was announced, I was like, and I was like, oh, he's great. And then Andrew Garfield, I'm like, and
He
great.
was solid
Wait, another
too.
new Spider-Man, Tom Holland?
Yeah.
And it's like, they've all done such a great job, and to see all 3 of them on screen was great. That moment where he's like, "Fine, Spider-Man," and then like Garfield steps through, I was like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah, that was cool.
And you kind of knew when Garfield.
Thank you to Toby when he hit, because his are actually in there, because that's all the same
that was
one.
the best
Yeah,
part. Like,
it's
wait,
like, what do you mean?
Wait, yours
So
is-
like,
do you
so
ever
do
run out?
Well, my body just produces it. No, well, hey, it's not that it's bad.
That
It's
was
like,
a
I
great
can't do
movie.
that.
But Mason Quinn brings up a good point. Like, they have a lot to live up to with these Marvel movies, and if you're going to bring back, look, you can't just rely on bringing back people's favorites. There still has to be substance to the movie,
Depth.
and I think they really, really nailed that from every single angle. It was a great movie, and I think it was family friendly. I mean, if you're a fan of comic books or not, I thought that movie was great. But like I said, this when I see my memes in my movies, you guys know.
Oh, he jumps all over that like a freaking
love
dog
it.
on a bone.
the scene that I really loved from Spider-Man was when Andrew Garfield got to make the save on Zendaya.
That's where I said that.
Where which I
Redemption.
thought the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, for me, those were my favorite of the ones we reviewed. I thought he was the best. And when he got to make that save on her the same way he lost his love, I mean, man, that was something else.
All right.
I can't
on
comment
your-
yet.
Oh, yeah,
right. I guess
comment yet.
we got all.
I think we said damn near everything.
Yeah,
Dave
I think
could
we
say on
covered that,
which
absolutely.
is fine,
So, keeping with a bit of the theme, I guess that's been kind of going around the channel here. This movie, guys, when it was first announced, it was very controversial on our channel here. A lot of naysayers I was with, 3 of them, and wasn't sure how it was going to work out. I had complete faith, and this movie absolutely delivered for me. That was The Batman
wow.
with Robert Pattinson. Absolutely incredible. Again, another movie like we talked about with Spider-Man. A ton of pressure on the studio, the actors, the writers, the directors to deliver. And I absolutely loved the vibe of this movie. I loved Robert Pattinson's take on Batman. It was very different, obviously, from the latest Ben Affleck Batman that we had. And the story just sucked me right
Thanks,
in.
Betty.
I mean, the villains were incredible in this because I love when they take a superhero movie, if you will, and they make it realistic, kind of like Christopher Nolan did with his take on Batman. But with this one, it felt very real and just it was like nothing I had seen out of a superhero movie, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm sure we'll talk more as the guys go through it here.
Well, because like we did the trailer and the reveal, and like, I was happy to point out, like, yeah, that's the best part about comic book movies is the director has the freedom to just take it wherever he wants throughout the universe. And so then you're going to have fun with how Robert did it. Cause like he's in year 2 of being Batman.
Which
so you got to see him, like, cause when we'd see Michael Keaton, he's already been established as Batman. When we saw Christian Bale, we saw him becoming Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's like the second year of him. How is he going about his business? You see that he finally does have some pull in the police, but it's just one person. So you got to see the growth and like the struggles of year 2 of the Batman.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think of some of the
And
trailers.
Riddler was awesome because he wasn't the funny, kooky guy.
Yeah.
It was
a
real,
great take on the Riddler. And I know one of the scenes from the trailer that got all of us talking was where Robert Pattinson as Batman is in the dark hallway, and he's coming up on some villains, and he's just wailing on people, and all you see for light is like the muzzle flash, and it's just flashes of light, and he's doing work on all these guys. And again, the big one answer was when he's just hammering on a guy and doesn't stop, because that's so different from any other Batman that we've seen. And the casting of Robert Pattinson was somewhat controversial here at the channel. I told these guys to have faith the whole
I
way.
was gonna bring that up, but somebody already did, of course.
The tires on the Batmobile. The tires on the Batmobile. Look, one of the most fun things.
No one gives a shit, Dave.
One of the most fun things about every single Batman franchise.
Boy, was I wrong.
Is the reveal of the Batmobile. Of course, you have the original, the old school, I believe it's a Cadillac.
I think it was
isn't
a Cadillac.
Yeah. Then you have the Michael Keaton Batmobile, which had the turbine on the back.
Yeah.
It was
That's
a
still my
mile
favorite,
long
yeah.
with your
Still my
giant
I think
fender
that was
flares.
based off like a 70s Corvette, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, with the fender flares, it was.
Yeah.
The Tumbler, I mean, but it made sense. It was a military vehicle that was designed to jump over rivers and to use for bridge building. So the Tumbler was so incredibly
According to Morgan
badass.
Freeman, we don't.
And now the Batmobile, it's so that's like always like the exciting thing. Like there's the movie has its own personality, but it's like, what's the Batmobile going to look like? It's almost like in an Iron Man movie. Like, okay, we know it's a superhero movie, but is it going to be the Mark 12 suit? Like, what's his suit gonna
What's
look
the
like?
new
What can the
toys on the suit?
What can the suit do? So the Batmobile was different. It was almost like a, kind of like a throwback to an old muscle car mixed with like some off-road, racing
Yeah, like a
kind of
trophy
car
truck look,
with a
yeah.
giant engine with a turbine. So I love the chase scene. And of course, I had to make a comment about the tire. Look, that was
penguin
just
throughout the chase
for the
scene
record.
was
If you've
hilarious,
watched
too.
that, and you understand my humor, that was look. I know that they dropped a massive bomb, like arguably like one of the most massive bombs in the history of Batman movies, and it was very deliberate. That I was like, oh wow, look at them tires. So for the people who roasted me. I understand for the people who like the comment on the tires that I had a lot of fun with that. The movie was great. And look, Mason Quinn is dead on. I remember when they announced Henry Cavill as being Superman, I got a magazine back when I used to have magazine subscriptions, my old place in the historic Fox River Mills. And I could have cried. Henry Cavill. If you look at the cover, he's got like longer brown hair. It's when he's very thin. And I almost lost it. And then, of course, he made an amazing Superman. And I forgot all that when they announced Robert Pattinson. Now, at the time, all I knew Robert Pattinson from was Twilight. Okay, so I was like, wait, the guy from Twilight?
And then Harry Potter.
That's going to be, but I didn't know him from Harry Potter then. I was like, this is going to be the guy that's Batman. And, there was controversy that filming stopped because Pattinson said, I don't want to put on weight to play Batman. And it was this interesting, conversion that happened. Mason Quinn, and he must have pounded this 1,000 times on us. Just go watch this movie called The Rover, right? Go watch this movie called The Rover. And I watched it reluctantly, and Pattinson's brilliant in it. And all of a sudden, you understand, look, Pattinson got paid a lot of money to do the Twilight movies. Look, I would whatever he weighed for those movies, 115 pounds. I'm 265, 270 right now. Look, if you threw $1 million at me and said, here are the conditions, you got to be 110 pounds and stay out of the sunlight for the next year. Okay, done. So, when you look back, you can't blame Pattinson for taking those roles, but you assume that maybe he's not a good actor. And when you see some of his other work and you're like, wow, he's a good actor. Now, of course, there is still the hesitance from his stature. And he wasn't bulked up like Christian Bale was for Batman, but he wasn't skinny by any means. He had a good thin athletic build and he played a good Batman. It was
Christian Bale was kind of like that too, where he wasn't super bulky.
No,
it was Affleck was the one that got big to be Batman.
I mean, Bale for Batman was muscular. He wasn't, Marvel muscular, but he was, he was
natural.
He was muscular. But I look, and the other thing I liked about the Batman was, as Mason Quinn had said, they gave you real villains. It wasn't look, the Joker in the first one, and Nothing But Love or Jack Nicholson. It didn't feel real. And a lot of times, Mr. Freeze, my boss, but it doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
So it's cool when they do these types of movies where the bad guys feel real. And so many of the Marvel movies, it's people coming through portals from alien universes and stuff like that. And that wasn't it. And the other thing that we got from this Batman movie that I felt was really cool was we got more. Look, it was more of a detective whodunit suspense movie than it was. It felt more like the movie Seven than it did the first Batman with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So I thought it was brilliantly done. You know, 5 years ago, if you would have told me, hey, when 2023 rolls around, you are going to be a huge Robert Pattinson fan, I would have told you no way. And I will look. I'll echo Quinn. If you guys haven't seen The Rover, you got to go check it out. It's an incredible movie. But I thought Batman was a lot of fun. They really nailed it, and I'm really looking forward. My only complaint with the Batman movie, and this is across like cinema today, and I think some of you guys will agree with me. Can we please just stop making movies so dark? And I mean, like visibly dark. Visibly dark.
He does all of his work in the shadows.
Can we just turn the brightness up?
The number of times we've had to do that.
Can we just turn the brightness up a little bit? I want to still be able to see what's going on.
House of Dragon, The Walking Dead, some of these movies. Please stop with turning your cinematography color grade so dark that we can't see anything.
Yep.
That's just the request. Please take care of that for us.
Well, then also
Jack
Batman.
World, you know what we're talking about.
My phone. Is my
Ever since
phone broke? Is my TV
Why is it
broke?
so dark?
Why is it so dark?
Yeah.
For people playing Batman, it's always been big shoes to fill since Clooney didn't. We all know.
Yeah, well, you know, and the thing that's nice that I think that on a quick side note, what maybe helped Robert Pattinson with not having to be as like huge and as big as Ben Affleck is like the UFC is very popular these days. So you see like a Conor McGregor or some of these guys in the UFC who are maybe, you know, 135, 145, under 180 pounds. They go out there and they, you know, can wail on people, and they're amazing fighters. So you don't necessarily have to be huge for the character to work if you can display some skills.
To be a functional badass, you don't have to be muscular, and many people know that the reach is kind of like this breaking point when you're overly muscular. Your fighting skills may decline. But I think with that, we're going to get into my number 3 movie, one of the most unexpected movies of me for this year, a movie that I literally never heard of until I came to the studios to record it that night, and that is Jojo Rabbit, my number 3 favorite movie that we reacted to of 2023. This was an easy 5 answers for me. This movie was so brilliant on so many fronts. I've said a few times, but if you haven't seen the reactions, my grandfather served in World War II, as well as my great uncle, and I'm wildly enthusiastic about the history of World War II. I think I've watched every documentary, I've seen every program on the history of World War II, which is neat. Like how many World War II documentaries we have available on Netflix and Amazon Prime. There's so much educational material out there. So I'm a huge World War II buff, and I could not have been more thrown off when we pulled up our the kind of the promo material, the movie poster for the background here that we use, and I'm like, this looks like it's going to be a comedy.
Yeah, how is this going to work?
There's nothing really funny about World War II, and I'm like, okay, they did Inglourious Bastards, where there was some comedic aspects to that movie, and it was a Quentin Tarantino movie. So Inglourious Bastards, you kind of, it's Tarantino, you expect.
Do his tweaks.
And I'm like, what is this movie going to be about? And like, I got to be honest, and this might sound cliche, but you watched this movie, you laughed, you cried, you were angry, you were sad, you were depressed, like it hit everything. Every spectrum of the human emotions. This movie hit and did it in a phenomenal way. And it's so hard to imagine taking a lighthearted approach again to anything involving World War II. And they managed to do it with this film. And I thought it was brilliant. I think every actor was just perfect. And they brought in some child actors. The young man who played Jojo Rabbit, the young man who played his best friend.
They were
second best friend, because his first best friend is
we can't say
his mustache.
And then the young woman, who was the young Jewish girl who was hiding in the house. Her performance was brilliant. Captain K,
Sam Rockwell.
Yes,
Sam Rockwell.
He was
And
amazing.
Sam Rockwell's character, God, like
He's
I'm not gonna lie, like I almost get a little bit emotional about the way Sam Rockwell went out. And if you haven't watched our reaction, go back and watch it. But it was such a powerful movie. And I'll do like a quick recap. Look, World War II was a mess. And it's so easy to look at the German army and think like, oh, they were all just the most evil people in the world. And this film kind of took like this different angle and said like, look, some of these German soldiers knew it was all BS. They didn't want to be a part of it. Like they really, at the end of the day, I know we say, well, everybody's got a choice. Well, when your choice is do your duty or your family, gets 86th, a lot of these guys didn't want to have, anything to do with what was going on. They knew it was wrong. They knew it was garbage, but they quite literally had to. And so it was just a different angle on how the German soldiers felt about the war. Clint Eastwood did a phenomenal movie. The Sands of Iwo Jima. Was it Sands or Letters of Iwo Jima? There's one movie that Clint Eastwood did where it very much takes the viewpoint of the Japanese soldiers, because we're taught in history books and like all the documentaries, the Japanese were these ruthless soldiers, and like this told their story. Like, look, they didn't want to be there either. They wanted to be back at home with their families. And so there's a handful of movies that have taken a very different angle from what we're used to seeing in World War II movies and documentaries. And Jojo Rabbit was one of those. And it was such a phenomenal movie. There's a few times where I got very, very emotional. Like, look, we're doing these reactions and stuff, and it's hard sometimes when you're doing a reaction to contain your emotions, and I think we all do the best that we can not to, frankly, just lose it on camera. And it was tough, and there was
emotions, right?
There was a few scenes that really
laugh at everything.
A few scenes that really hit for me. The scene where he found his mother, the scene where the young woman talked about her parents when she said, last time I saw my parents was at the station, train station, of course. We all know what that meant. And then when she said, my parents went to a place that you don't come back from, I mean, that was very difficult to listen to. And then, they had the shoe tying thing throughout the course of the entire movie.
Which was like, why do they keep showing her feet in her shoe?
When they were about to
why.
walk out of the home and he went to tie her shoes, I just about lost it. And
and then it made sense when he's like, what happened to them? And she goes, they didn't get the help they needed, or they tried helping, or she said a line like that really hit. It was, then you figure out through the course that she's helping as well.
It was just a beautiful movie. And I mean, it's a weird term to use. Like, it was I don't know how many movies I would say that about. It's a beautiful movie. It was an absolutely beautiful
Twilight.
film. We laughed so hard, I mean, just the way that they, the way that they portrayed the absurdity of the beliefs, like, oh, they have horns and they sleep upside
as
down.
Jojo was making his book,
And,
the facts.
Fake Nathan was hilarious. So, like, oh, I love you too. Like, oh, it's getting quite hot in here.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what World War II movie is going to make you laugh? That movie was, I mean, to me, that was one of the greatest movies I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, Jojo was incredible. And sorry, David, I just wanted to say that so many of the actors just were so good in that. But if I didn't give a shout out to Rebel Wilson's role in Jojo Rabbit, she's so comical in it and just so bizarre. It was just so refreshing to have her in there as that role that she did.
I'm just gonna hop in here, just real quick. Somebody brought up Sadar Udom, and it's a phenomenal film. If you haven't watched our reaction, it's based on a true story.
Go to Amazon Prime and watch it.
It's very educational, but it's also very emotionally challenging.
It's based on a
very tragic true story. It's not. We didn't rate it. It's the only time in the history of whatever we didn't rate it, because it was based on a true story. It was an incredibly emotional movie. We didn't rate it. It was a phenomenally done film. It's an incredible story. It's very difficult to watch. I encourage people to watch it just to learn about the history of the Indian people and the things that happened with the British. But we didn't rate it, and in not rating it, I also didn't. I didn't think any of us really thought it would be appropriate to put it in our top 5 movies. It's very out of the norm from the type of things that we do. look, we sat around after the movie was done, and it was a somber moment, even just for the three of us after it was done. So I saw that it was brought up. We'll get back into our thing, but it's just not something. It's not a movie that you rate. It's not a movie that this was my top or whatever. It's a movie that you watch, you learn, you pray or hope that history doesn't repeat itself, and you're a more cultured person, I guess I could say, for having watched the movie. But it's not really something you rate, you cheer for, or you applaud. You just recognize that it's a brilliantly done movie, but it's a very emotional story, and it's difficult to watch. So it's very much outside the scope of what we normally do here, and I saw that it was in the comments, so I did want to address it.
Yeah, so real quick with Jojo Rabbit. Now, I was supposed to be part of the reaction, couldn't make it. Of course, I don't want to be the one who holds up anything for the schedule that we have, but I did the edit on it, and I will say I had zero clue of what, just like you guys, about the shoe scene. And when that hit, if there was a camera on me, guys, my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't feel my heart. It was just a freaking gut punch seeing that whole thing play out. Again, in an artistic way, it was beautifully shot the way they did that. But otherwise, yeah, that movie, I was worried about the whole thing of it, just because of the nature of the film when we were doing it, because YouTube and all that stuff, right? So, but again, the film was actually really, really good, and that's where I come back to. If it wasn't for this channel, probably about 90% or more we wouldn't even be watching. We'd be in our own little bubble, and then wouldn't be getting
watching
all these
The
great
Office
films.
for the 100th time.
I should probably
You're third, Diamond
number three.
Dave.
Number 3.
So guys, y'all, this one was just a ride. I don't think I've ever felt like I was getting slapped from a movie and just doing chair spins as much as I did for this film right here. I'll just get right into it. My number 3 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. What a
good
film.
one.
I'm still like whirlwind. Anytime I think about it, I just get in a whirlwind of like, so much happened. There was so much going on with dialogue and lessons and story and just the layers of that alone. The way they did their multiverse was fantastic. I was really, again, it was one of those movies. Didn't see the trailer, had no idea what we were going into.
All we knew is that it was A24.
Which were fans of that studio.
And we heard that a lot of people loved it.
And just it was really well put over by you folks, and then of course some. Again, a whirlwind. Just me trying to think about it. Just again, it's a whirlwind. I said that a million times already, but phenomenally done. I'm just going to shut up because I'm just rambling at this point. But Everything Everywhere is my third on my rank list.
It was just a great overall movie through in and throughout, and like between the dad, the mom, the kid. Well, like why did she have to be such an evil person? You know, it was a lot of fun and a great ride. Jamie Lee Curtis was amazing in it.
Jamie Lee, she's great in everything.
Because we watched Knives Out, so we got to see her again. She was amazing in that. She was in Halloween that we watched. Did a great job. It was like she was just crushing it lately. So yeah, A24 just made me.
Yeah, they did.
That's why I clapped one day.
Real quick to your point there, the family dynamic. That's what I was trying to get to. I was just rambling and couldn't get the words out. The family dynamic in that was just fantastic because it's so relatable to how, depending on what stage of life you're in for the kids, and depending on what stage of life you're in for the parents.
The dad was what, short round, or what was he? Was he?
Yeah, he was short round from Indiana Jones, and he was
cool to see
him
back
in
making a
the
little
Goonies.
resurgence.
Data. Data. But the thing that I liked about Everything Everywhere All at Once, get that
Say
out,
that 3 times fast.
Visually an absolutely incredible movie like nothing I've ever seen. It was so much going on, the absolute absurdity of so many things. Some things were incredibly bizarre.
The rock scene.
Yeah, I mean, just running out of adjectives to describe it.
Come here, I'm gonna give you a hug. No, you're not.
Well, and Quinn, to your point too, they had editors edit that over Zoom.
Over Zoom, yeah.
So that whole movie was done through Zoom.
And somebody said in the comments that they basically just learned how to edit on YouTube. And they're the ones that made that movie. But, all that stuff aside, the visually how great it was and everything they did and the off-the-wall storylines, it was all that was a vehicle for a movie about family dynamics and how, you know, families can go through hard times and eventually come together and love each other again. And that's what was so great about it, was that with all the crazy fireworks and things they had going on, at the end of the day, it was a very relatable story that we all just absolutely fell in love with. I believe we gave that one 5s all the way across the board. So I absolutely loved that movie as well, and man, so much fun to watch. So much fun.
This up.
Yeah, that was a great one. We're going on to we're down to everybody's number 2.
Number two. You kind of stole my thunder with your 3. So Jojo Rabbit, I want to do a shout out if he's still watching Pacific Egg, because he's like, I know that it's going to be on Answers list, and you were correct.
Yeah.
Of course, JoJo's beyond, because you know I'm always a huge fan of comedy, and that's what I loved right at the beginning, is just the absurdity, the slapstick comedy. The director, I can't think of his name, that played the man who we must not name, but he was great in that, always offering the cigarettes.
Well, that was the director, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was the director, and he was also him.
Yeah.
And he kept offering JoJo a cigarette. He was like, stop offering me cigarettes, I'm only 10. And so, you know, it's crazy stuff like that. And then also, yes, the heart-wrenching at the end where, you know, Scarlett Johansson, who did a great job, you know, that I think Dave, you might have threw in this, all of us reacting together at that when we figured it out. Like we all just were like in stunned silence, because we obviously didn't. We were hoping that she wasn't going to be gone from the movie, but
and it's interesting that yours is on the list, because I think that's the first one we've had that's a repeat.
Takai I'm sorry if I'm probably going to butcher it, but thank you for giving me his name.
Takai Waititi.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who also did Thor: Love and Thunder.
He was,
And Ragnarok. Let's not.
And Ragnarok,
Don't bash him, because he had a great one there.
oh man, yeah. I don't know if you guys probably
go
didn't
for
have
it. No,
anything
no.
else to add to Jojo Rabbit, and again,
the
our
big
first kind of repeat.
And then he's eating the big pig, and because someone said that was known to hate cigarettes and be vegetarian, and so he's.
That's
Thank you for that little nugget. That's awesome. All right.
For mine, guys, I don't know if we could do a bigger turn in the seriousness of what it was of Jojo Rabbit to a movie that's made just to have absolute fun and a good time and remind us of everything that the movies can be with being over the top.
Twilight?
Guys, for me, you knew it was going to be Fast 9 at number 2.
Oh, I forgot we did that one.
I
in
absolutely-
2022.
I had to check. I had to make sure we were still good. But I absolutely love the Fast and the Furious franchise. They're so much fun. Look, sometimes I don't want to have to think, and you even said it, Oak. Sometimes I want to turn the old brain off. I just want to see cars and explosions and awesome fight scenes and actors delivering one-liners that are just great. That's a throwback to my childhood. That's what I grew up on. So for me, Fast 9 was so much fun. I love how they're the franchise that goes over the top and does the stuff you probably shouldn't do in movies, right? Like Tom Cruise with Mission Impossible, as over the top as his stuff is, there's a level of belief in what he's doing. Like, maybe it's possible.
It's all about
could
family.
be done. And it is about family, and all of you are my family. So, but that's the Fast and the Furious movies role. The Fast and the Furious movies role in Hollywood is to be that series that pushes the limits, goes over the top, complete absurdity, and it's just fun to watch and enjoy. And
It's all about.
When
I
did
love
that
that.
happen though? Because so the first one, street racing, fine. The second
Stealing
one,
DVD players.
I've only seen parts of the second one. I've never seen the full second one.
you haven't seen
The
Too
third
Fast?
one, Tokyo Drift, okay.
I'm called The Answer.
So the third one, Tokyo Drift, okay. The fourth one, I don't remember that one. The fifth one, we get The Rock. Isn't the fifth one where they steal the safe?
They steal the safe
Okay,
in
so
Brazil.
it's
yeah.
wild,
Yeah.
but it's okay. You start like, okay, they're dragging the safe through the streets. Like, this is crazy.
And remember, the
And then-
recent Twilight was filmed the
Right,
same
Brian.
time in Brazil.
Brazil.
Stein, that's what he said.
And then, like, at some point, like, okay, wait a minute. There's a submarine coming up through the ice, and
Yeah.
Tyrese is driving an orange Lambo. Like,
Didn't even put snow tires on
and
there.
then the last one they hit us with, you know what?
Tokyo Drift.
Let's put a Ferrari a Ferrari, rather a Fiero in
Yep.
space. Which I will say this is one of the most fun moments I wasn't on for that reaction. I did see it in the theaters with my nephews, and shortly thereafter, we were at a car show here in Appleton. And look, the car show, car shows are supposed to be. Somebody had a Fiero. Now, my nephews are not super into cars. One was 11 at the time, one 15, one 13. And my 11-year-old nephew, out of every car that was there, we're talking 70 Daytonas. Yep. We're talking, old Chevelles, Eleanor Mustangs, everything.
Family, thank you, Mrs. Flex.
My 11-year-old nephew popped the most at the Fiero.
Oh,
Is that what they had in Fast and Furious? Yeah,
that's the one.
That's it.
Yeah, so sometimes it's fun just to have to go and watch a movie that's ridiculously absurd. Who are they going to bring in for cameos? Who's coming back? And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Paul Walker. Guy was absolutely fantastic.
Rest easy, Paul.
A beautiful human being and brought so much to the world. And I'm glad that these movies keep going and kind of continuing his legacy because man, they are so much fun, and I can't wait for number 10. You guys might have to hold me down so I don't go to the theater for 10 so we can do it for the channel.
Should have been Paul, not Brian. Just my
I agree with you there a bit.
All right. My number 2 movie for 2022 is going to be Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. This movie meant a lot to me. It was the end of a franchise that I absolutely loved. As you guys know, and we talked about it was a relatively quick journey for us. We banged these out one after the other.
That was
so I can just imagine, I can't imagine, but I try to, that feeling that people must have had being in the theaters for this one the last time, knowing that this was it, this was the end. So it was, it was a really cool moment for us. I thought they did a phenomenal job. I mean, there was so many that, the battle was wild. I mean, Ron, that's my girlfriend, Ron Weasley. Of course we saw it in the deleted scenes, which they pulled. So I'll consider it part of this. We saw the redemption of Draco Malfoy in this movie, which I thought was incredible. But if you followed along on our Potter journey or any of our Potter content, you will know
Flick's favorite number 1 movie of all time.
that I am most fond of Neville Longbottom as far as any of the characters in these movies, and his speech at or rather near the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2, I thought was
I mean, David looks like he's going to a library.
Absolutely incredible. Look, Harry, throughout the course of these movies, everybody told him he was the chosen one. Yep. Went to Gringotts and had a vault full of gold. Nobody knows where that much money came from, but everybody told him, "Oh, you're famous. You're this. You're this. You're that." And look, it put a lot of pressure on him, and there's times where he rejected that and didn't want to be. So Harry didn't take that fame and let it, cause this, sense of arrogance. So in no way am I dogging on Harry. It's just Neville didn't have that. And Neville lost his parents too. And they remind us that it was pretty brutal the way he lost his parents. So you have a kid who loses his parents. He's a little bit goofy. He's having trouble kind of navigating and finding his way through the world. And at the end of the movie, when you think, Harry is gone, I mean, look, Harry's supposed to be your hero,
He's supposed to be the guy. Yeah.
Harry's supposed to be your hero. So we have this just crazy, powerful moment where it's Voldemort and, all his followers and everybody at Hogwarts, and you think Harry is like, that's it. Now, look, part of me was like, there's no way, there's no way. So I got to be honest, I was never fully invested that Harry was gone, but they thought he was. And Neville stepped up and he gave the speech, and he said, it was tough to listen to. And he's like, it doesn't matter that Harry's gone, and he gave that speech. And then, of course, sword with the snake. So not only did he speak of bravery and did he speak of doing the right thing, but he pulled up the courage to actually do it as well, which, let's be honest, those are two very different things. Being able to deliver powerful speeches and being able to act in the face of adversity in the moment, and he did both. And so I love the series. It was a phenomenal journey for me. And I do gotta say, like, it was cool kind of going back, because like, let's be honest, I kind of crapped on the first two movies, and the people in the Potterverse could have very easily come at me and been like, okay, we got some meathead who these aren't who these movies are meant for. He's just judging. And look, I've been stereotyped a lot in my life. Okay, I have. And I know sometimes people don't think of, jocks and meatheads as being the type of people who get stereotyped. They think we're the ones like doing the bullying and stuff. I've been I can't even count how many times I've been stereotyped being dumb, being an idiot, having, small reproductive organs. I mean, you name every stereotype. And the coolest thing was the Potterverse. When I threw out some shade, they just sat back and said, "You know what? Okay." Okay, and I think they knew we were going to watch all 8. We said, "Hey, look, we're in it for the long haul." So you knew we were in it, and everybody in the Potterverse felt like you guys learned all the lessons from the Potter movies, because everybody just sat back. And instead of coming at me, we're like, okay, we'll see. And then I think you saw me changing. Next thing you know, I got a Cedric Diggory shirt on. I got a scarf on my microphone. Somebody even dropped a meme. Somebody made, and that meant, I apologize, I don't know the name. Somebody even made their own meme of me like this in the first movie. And then when Ron got his kiss in the last movie, of me like this. So this whole Potter thing, it's still number 2, and I'll get into why when I reveal my number 1. But the whole Potter journey was great, and I know people have their favorite Potter movies, but the culmination of the story was fantastic for me, and that is my number 2 movie of the year.
I just want to say, for speaking on this film, one of the greatest moments of 4 minutes of cinema is the Snape reveal, in my personal opinion. So that came out of that film, so I'm really appreciative of that film. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one that tied everything together. I feel that that's the one that, for all of us, kind of wrap the bow around that universe for us, and now we're like in this world. So now when I'm driving around on the highway, I'll see cars. I'm like, I know what that sticker means. That's the Deathly Hallows. I get it now,
See the glasses, like I knew that from somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, as somebody who was a fan of,
we will recap.
As somebody who was a fan of like the Lord of the Rings books and that sort of thing, and I never got into the Harry Potter stuff, only because for a lot of the same reasons that Oak said. And then it's like, oh man, I thought Lord of the Rings fans were passionate. These folks are on a whole nother level with their fan love and their love of the books and just how everything and how they are as a community. So it was just so awesome to see and to have my eyes open to a whole nother fan base out there of some of the nicest people you'll ever meet on the internet.
I'll tell you the first time you fist bump a 12-year-old kid wearing a Hufflepuff shirt, that's when you know you're in. And look, I will be honest, like there is an enjoyment, and I will, if I see somebody wearing like a Gryffindor or a Hufflepuff shirt, which are the ones of course Gryffindor we see the most, I always try to make a point of being like, all right, and like, and I think I'm just recognizing the reality of it. I think it is unexpected with my stature sometimes for people wearing Harry Potter gear to be like, all right, yeah. I was at the farmer's market like earlier on this year, right before they shut it down for the year, and somebody had a Gryffindor sweatshirt. And I was like, hell yeah. And they were like, wait, what? Because I'm like,
didn't even know they were wearing
black shirt with my, with my fiance walking or whatever. And they're like, oh, like, yeah, right on, So it really, it's a unique, I think it's unlike any other fandom or fan universe, I think. I think certain movies, look, we all know, like, at least my age, we all know, like, Star Trek has its, like, own, like, very unique group of people, and so does Star Wars, and so does this. But I think the Harry Potter universe is a little bit different because they are movies about facing adversity and doing the right thing, and finding who you really are, and that and I'm sure you can pull some of those lessons from Star Wars and Star Trek as well. But I just think it's a very unique universe of fans, and I'm really, really glad that we became a part of it. And I'm also really glad that everybody in that universe was so welcoming of, a couple late 30s, 40-ish meatheads and pro wrestlers into their universe. So.
All right. What
So
do we got for Diamond Dave?
I'm just going to reveal this one right away.
I'm always
already
excited
talked
for
about
his
it.
just because he does most of the editing, so you don't get to always see or hear his scores. So I'm probably just as excited as you guys to hear his top 5.
We've already chatted a lot about this one, so I'll just reveal it. It is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay, there we go.
The definition of perfect fan service, in my opinion, is what Marvel did with this film. I am a huge fan of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, just like Mason Quinn. We did reaction to those. Seeing Toby back as Spider-Man, phenomenal. Andrew back as Spider-Man, phenomenal. The way they brought the villains back, their antagonists, Jamie Foxx, phenomenal. I always forget Doc Ock, and the guy I always ask you about who was from Wings. I always forget his name. I always ask you.
Oh, Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church,
The Sandman.
I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting something else about the movie, but folks, that for the whole, from the start, from very beginning to the very last end credit, it was just an amazing moment. I think I caught myself in there about 5-6 different times saying how amazing this was, and we were just like probably an hour into it.
Yep.
The whole cast did phenomenal. The story of how they introduced the multiverse, I thought was incredibly well done because we all have seen some stuff where just in time travel, how easily that can be screwed up and just take you out of the story, and then you're just going to crap all over the movie. The events leading up to this film, where everyone was guessing, not just us, but you, the YouTube world, the world itself. It was awesome to be a part of that because everyone was dissecting every second of the trailer, every second of anything from the media that came out. It was just awesome to be part of that experience. Now, the only thing we didn't get to experience, obviously, because we did it for the channel, was the theater experience. But we do hear from all of you, it was breathtaking of an experience. So that's just my 2 cents.
No, I thought we acknowledged that I saw it.
You probably did, but I'm just saying for the channel. I'm just saying for the channel.
It was
I didn't
amazing.
get to experience it.
It was
probably should have.
There was no way I wasn't going to go see that in the theater. I was like him, like you guys with Top Gun Maverick. There's no way I was going to let that.
I think we had kind of
Lizard Man too. Thank you.
We had kind of tossed out the idea of like the next time a big movie comes out in the theater, like if we're gonna look, there's who
gets to go?
We're gonna pick straws. Look,
Two can go.
One or two get to go. The other two, so we have that genuine first time watching reaction. But we'll let certain members pick which ones if they're adamant about it. But for these future blockbusters, look, this reaction channel is what we do now. We love you guys joining along. So
the Spider-Man pointing.
We're gonna
they got
be
the cartoon.
we might let Quinn check out.
Maybe I'll get to see fast.
So, answer. Go through your 5 through 2 before you introduce your
5
one.
through 2, I had Maze
and
Runner.
give us your international number 1 movie before you go into your number 1 here.
Okay, well there you go.
That we've done.
Then that one's pretty well then too. So Maze Runner was at 5. Chamber of Secrets at 4. 3 was Spider-Man. 2 was JoJo. International number 1. It was only Quinn and I that did it, and it was Parasite.
That was awesome.
A really great story that we're both shocked, and not put words in your mouth, but we're still shocked that like someone in America, an American director, hasn't done their version of it, because this was Korean or Japanese.
I believe it was Korean.
And so we had to read subtitles, but the story was just amazing. It was just amazing. But I also wanted to mention that honorable mention is Avatar: The Last Airbender for me, because I have seen it before, but to watch these two go through the experience has been nothing but
Perfect segue for this. So, folks, if you're watching and you are a fan of the Avatar reactions that are going on, you are gonna experience a delay for book 2 because we are doing a minimum of 4 episodes per YouTube cut. So right now, early this week, for Patreon, episodes 3 and 4 drop. So we're probably going to get a good handful of episodes on Patreon, then edit down, and then start introducing it to YouTube.
It won an Oscar.
Bit of a delay.
Yeah.
That's definitely a reason. It was so good. All right, and just going to number 1.
Going to your number 1.
All right, so that was fun. But so my number 1.
Here we go. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
All right. You did have the
So-
proton pack as a kid. So,
I had the
mean,
proton pack as a kid. My mom knew I was a huge fan as a kid. The real Ghostbusters I watched as a kid. And right as this came into theaters, I lost my mom to cancer. And she took me to Ghostbusters 2 in the theater, which was probably my first movie I ever saw in a theater. It was either that or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but I remember seeing it in the theater. And so the day before we had the visitation and everything, my wife and I went to it in the theater. And with what they did with Harold Ramis and everything, like I had to excuse myself even after we watched it because it brought back so many memories, so many good things about my mom, about Ghostbusters, about Harold Ramis, because, you know, I was heartbroken when he passed away as well. And I thought they did a very good job for him. So this was a no-brainer for me. I had to double check, make sure we did it this year. But this was by far my favorite reaction.
Yeah, we mentioned, Ghostbusters earlier, but like I said, those are movies that so many people felt so like deeply attached to because of when they saw them and, when they were growing up. And, it's like a time machine. Sometimes if you go back and watch those movies, whether it's the originals or even remakes, they put you back in that mindset of being that age and you kind of remember where you were and what was going on. And it's really fascinating how some movies can do that. So, 100% can't fault anybody for that.
Yeah. So
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
that was a good reason for me to put it number one.
All right.
Movies can be entertaining. They can make us laugh. They can make us smile. They can pull a ton of emotions out. But they also, they can have this like deep connection to certain times in our lives. And it's, I don't know, like I think there's certain TV shows that I watched as a kid where like, it's the same thing. Like I think as you get older, you start to realize like there's certain things that bring you back to certain times, whether it be happy times with friends or family or times that, that really just put a smile on your face. And so sometimes it doesn't have to be the most brilliant piece of cinema or the best directed movie. It just needs to be something that reminds you of a time in your life that really made you smile. And it might not be the number one movie of the year to somebody else, and it doesn't have to be. And I think that's a really solid choice for answer for number one. I think I'm getting a little choked up listening to him talk about his mom, but yeah, that was a really great movie.
Because this is part of why too. The woman you love growing up is usually your mom. And then I got to watch it with the woman I love now, my wife. So
Yeah,
that's another reason.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I don't think anybody's going to doubt Ghostbusters as being fantastic. Do you have anything, Dave, or you want me to run down?
No,
my
I've
list?
already spoken my number
Okay,
5.
yeah, that's what I
So
figured.
do your 5 through 2 and
Yep, I'll bring
and then
everybody
don't
up.
forget your number 1 international.
Yep. So I'll bring you guys up to speed on mine. So, number 5 for me was Hunger Games. Again, very eye-opening. Didn't expect it. Number 4 was Black Phone. It's just a total awesome thriller and something that really stood out on its own with writing and the acting and that sort of thing. Number 3 was, of course, The Batman. That speaks for itself. I think we all loved it, and all of you seem to love it as well. And for number 2, it was Fast 9. Again, that's the type of thing that I love. Sometimes just turn off the brain and let Vin Diesel entertain you with a lot of fun and absurdity that nobody else does better. And for my number 1, guys, this is my number 1. I have been waiting for since I think I was in the 3rd grade when I wanted this to be made into a movie. And some of you guessed it out there earlier in the chats.
Did they? I don't even know what you're writing.
Yeah, they were saying it.
There's a lot of, what's that, an acronym when you use just letters? A lot of acronyms in this one, but you guys will get it. For me, it's Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. That's my number 1. I can't tell you how long I waited for a proper adaptation of this movie to be made, and the scale at which these movies were made. I mean, you guys have all seen the behind-the-scenes footage, the making, the actors, and all the crew and everybody essentially changed their lives for 3 years to move to New Zealand and make these movies and bang them all out. And Peter Jackson to be able to do what he did. I mean, you talk about pressure. The pressure to bring now again, I'm talking about the whole series, but obviously with Return of the King being the finish, that's why I use that one. But to have the pressure on to make these movies and to deliver, to have the fantasy creatures not look silly and ridiculous unless they're meant to be, is a huge thing that all the people who work in the props and the makeup and the special effects, and for all that stuff to still hold up to this day. You can go back and watch the Lord of the Rings series, and every bit of CGI there, in my opinion, still holds up. And an amazing story. We watched the extended cuts, which were amazing, of course. And it was something new for all these guys.
You got 4 hours.
It was.
Yeah, they had never seen it, and I did, and I absolutely loved it. And I was glad to bring them along. Kind of the same way Answer feels when he's watching Avatar with us. You're kind of doing this, watching your buddies, watching a movie like, oh, here comes the part.
Someone mentioned
here
that in
comes
the comments.
the part.
Someone mentioned in the comments that they just love watching me watch you guys.
Yes, and
that
that makes it so much fun. But I mean, the characters they had in there. I mean, Aragorn, played by Viggo Mortensen. I mean, what a star! And the speeches he had before the battles, and the way that everybody in Middle Earth had to look inward to themselves to come together and to fight the great evil was just awesome. And I love taking the ride with all of you guys and with these 3 guys as well.
My older brother tried to get me to watch The Lord of the Rings for years. In fact, just the other day,
20 years, wasn't it?
just on Facebook the other day, I got reminded of the time he bought a ticket to go see one of the Hobbit movies, and I had to bail last minute. So
bail.
Go ahead and finish.
I
forgot.
He kind of joked about it, but so as with some of the other franchises, I had a commitment to do these Lord of the Ring movies, and absolutely love them.
Meanwhile, he's sitting on the couch, he's eating popcorn.
I will say that the Twin Towers was Two Towers was
correcting him.
Actually, yes, Aragorn through the double doors. Yes,
that was Two Towers was my favorite. I mean, that was.
Thank you,
but I love
Mims.
these
He's going to be
movies.
watching it tonight. And
I had a great journey to Mordor and back. We're not going to talk about the Eagles, but would have seen him coming.
Yeah,
I would have seen him coming.
Sorry, Catherine.
Yeah.
And then we went on to the Hobbits, which was a lot of fun too. So I got introduced to a whole new world. As you may have seen, Quinn and I did. The Rings of Power.
Yep.
We're gonna back out of that world.
take a little bit of a break.
But in any regard, I was so happy that we watched these movies for the channel, because again, it was another I almost kick myself in the butt sometimes, and I think I try to be more open-minded with movies now, although now we put them off because it's well, it's a good one, we might watch it for the channel. But I think sometimes stepping outside of your comfort zone, regardless of what your favorite movie type may be, just opens the doors to having these incredible experiences. And I was always I'm not going to sit through the 3 hours of this. And then when it happened, it's man, wait, that was 3 hours?
Yeah,
are you kidding me? So
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah, I see.
and the other thing that I wanted to touch on.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank you.
Maya.
The other thing I want to touch on before
Mia.
I forgot. Before I mentioned my international favorite, was that I just love how the whole Lord of the Rings series, I mean, I don't think it's a stretch here, guys, to say it revolutionized filmmaking, and the way things were done and shot. So it was just incredible. So many memes, the number of memes that we got to watch in the Lord of the Rings series with Oak, that was so much fun. When he did the one simply does not. I knew it was coming, and I couldn't wait for it. And I thought he was going to die laughing. So that was so much fun.
that one and the keep your secrets one had me.
All right, keep your secrets.
That one was a good one.
So, oh, and for my international pick, this was one that I just thought was incredible. It was hard to choose from because we've done a lot of really good international movies. Like you said, Answer, Parasite was incredible. You and I love that. We were both blown away by it.
It was amazing.
But for a movie that kind of falls into a genre that is a guilty pleasure of mine. No. One that's a bit of a guilty pleasure. Guys, I got to go with KGF Chapter 2.
Oh, okay.
The character of Rocky was so awesome. It blew us away when we were watching it. It was real tough. For me, it was between this and Bahubali. And I ended up going with KGF because I love the character of Rocky so much. I mean, just over the top, the one-liners, the couple of lines that he had, congratulations, I love you, and then when he takes the guy's hand to fix his hair,
that was in chapter 1, and then remember in chapter 2, she does it to him, and it's
so good.
Perfect.
And the suits that Rocky wore, his attire was just incredible. Yeah. So for me, guys, my international pick was KGF 2.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Okay,
I'm going to get on to mine. So as a recap, number 5 was Twilight. Number 4 was Order of the Phoenix. Number 3 was Jojo Rabbit. Number 2 was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And my number 1, I'll throw out my best international movie. Not going to get into it because we touched on that, but I am glad I experienced Sudar.
Okay.
So I'm glad I experienced that. That was my international
All right. I mean, that's obviously a really
favorite.
good reason.
My number 1 movie that we reacted to in
Twilight, New Moon?
2022. It's not New Moon. Another acronym was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Nice. All right.
This was another movie that I had never even heard of till I got to the studios, and it was, for me, a perfect movie. It was wildly entertaining. The jumps. Jamie Lee Curtis's character was hilarious. Wayman's character, so funny. We had so much comedy. They brought in the older Asian gentleman who was in everything. Big Trouble in Little China, Revenge of the Nerds.
Yes.
I was just remember him as
an icon.
As the dad on Wayne's World 2.
He was a voice in Avatar.
Yeah, I haven't found that out.
Yep.
The dad in Wayne's World 2, Tia Carrere's character's dad.
The name was Cassandra.
If you've watched the channel for any period of time, you know that I really love pulling my lessons out of the movies. I love going to the movies just as much as anybody else, like we talked about, to be spoon-fed entertainment. James Hong to be spoon-fed entertainment, the actions, the explosions. And then you have some movies that have a little bit of both. You have movies like Gladiator, where they teach a lesson about about honor and about courage and things like that. And for me, Everything Everywhere All at Once just encompassed everything that's good about a movie. It was a great story. It was funny. It made you think. But the thing I guess I liked best about the movie was the lessons that it taught.
Wheelchair.
And the kind of the wrap up that I gave for the relationship between the mother and the daughter was, don't treat other people in such a manner that they wish they were somebody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can be mean to people. You can, be, kind of be condescending. There's a lot of different ways that you can treat other people. That's not nice. That's not kind. But the worst thing you can do is treat somebody in such a manner that they wish they were somebody else. And that's what we saw with the mother and the daughter. And that was really rough to watch because, and at the end, we wanted the daughter, like they had that very, very powerful metaphorical scene with letting go, right? And the mom was they just decided, we're not going to let you go. And that was wildly powerful to me. Look, we laughed that whole movie. Jamie Lee Curtis, we were just dying in that movie, the wild stuff, the Wayman's character. But, so there was that lesson, which I thought was really powerful. And the daughter got to a point where, like, she didn't even want the mom's acceptance anymore. It's like, she's like, imagine getting to that where you get past like even wanting acceptance, where you're like, you know what, let's just, call this relationship a day and just be done with it. And if there's anybody that you should never have that sort of feeling with, it's your parents of all people. And that was incredibly powerful that the mom came around to end. They had that just wildly powerful metaphorical scene. I love that another really powerful thing was I love that the grandpa just didn't care. Like the mom spent the whole movie like, well, we can't tell your grandpa that, that you have a girlfriend, and we can't tell your grandpa this. He'll be disappointed. He's from a different generation. And the grandpa didn't care.
No, whatever.
The grandpa didn't care. And I think it's, I touched on this in our kind of our wrap up.
Yes.
When you're 16, when you're 20, you think like your parents and your grandparents, they don't know anything.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's like to be in love. They don't know what it's like to go through a breakup. But your parents don't know anything. You're such squares. You're such stiffs. And like the older you get, like I will, if there's younger people watching, the older you get, the more real conversations you start having with your parents and your aunts and your uncles, and you'll find out like, oh, like, okay, my uncle's not that different from me at all. I mean, of course, there's the differences of technology. Yep, your grandpa didn't have Facebook. You know, your mom wasn't out doing TikTok dances. You know, but the life experiences that generations that came before us had were really not that different from ours. Everybody experiences heartbreak, falling in love, acceptance, wanting to be popular, all sorts of different things. And you got this like just really powerful message that the grandpa was like, yeah, okay, you're my granddaughter. I love you. It doesn't make a difference. And I think a lot of us go through life with so much fear of what other people might think and hope for acceptance, especially from family members. And to show that that grandpa was just like, he didn't care. That was a really powerful moment for me. I did share this in the movie. One of the more personal things that I have shared on the channel, and if you didn't see the reaction, I'll share it here. I have a cousin whose son is gay. And I have one of my father's oldest brother he's a wonderful human being, but he's an old Korean War vet, and he's seen some stuff, a very loving person, but kind of gruff around the edges, you know. And talking to my cousin, she was really worried about, or her son rather, the parents were very accepting that he was gay, and his biggest concern was that my grandpa was going to have my uncle, his grandpa, was going to have a problem with it. Now, if you would have asked me, I'd have told you, no way, he's not going to have a problem with it. And I think his parents told him the same thing, and he's still worried. And then when the time came where he told grandpa, because there was a very close relationship, my grandpa was just like, okay, like, all right.
And
okay, like that's it.
All right, hand me that wrench. We got to go work on the carburetors.
He spent so much time like with so much worry, and maybe, I don't know if fear is the right word, of whether he was going to get acceptance from his grandpa. Because some people's parents are very accepting of that, and I understand that there's some people's parents who aren't, and that's a very sad situation. Some people's parents are, but their extended family, or especially grandparents who come from a different generation, especially being a war veteran and stuff like that. But he was just like, okay. And so when I watched that movie, it like really hit home, because it was like, this is something that happened, with my family essentially. So that was powerful. And then there was all that depth, but there was also the message in that movie of the mom, like she kept going through these different universes and these different scenarios. And it was almost like, we saw in the beginning, she wasn't happy with where her life was at.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was like her seeing how her life played out in a million different scenarios. And I think we all spend a lot of time and waste a lot of energy wasting, wasting time wondering what our life would be had we taken a right turn here or a left turn here and this and that. And we spend so much time doing that, and everything brought her back to Wayman. And it was like, it was such a strong message, because we do that, right? Like, I've got a million regrets for my life. Being 43 now.
Let's name
I've never committed any major crimes. I haven't done so, but
That's your regret? You haven't committed a major crime.
Nothing that got me locked up. But look, I've treated, people that I've dated or been in relationships in a manner that I'm not proud of. And in some cases, I'm embarrassed of. I wish I would have studied harder, to be honest. In school, I wish I would have taken that more seriously. But like where I'm at right now in my life, with my fiance and my son and my job, it's the butterfly effect, right? Any small change that I made in my life may have ended up in me not being where I'm at right now. And I don't want to be anywhere else other than where I'm at right now. And that movie hit me hard with that too, because I do have a lot of regrets. And that movie, it makes you think about that. And then you had the dad the whole time who just he was living in the moment, right? The dad just wanted to be with the wife. He wanted to make things work. So you have this daughter who just wants the parents to let her go. You had the mom who's spending all this time, wondering what could have been. And you had the dad who's just living in the moment. You have the grandpa who's like, I'm just cool with it. And it was such a relatable movie. It was so powerful. but it was funny at the same time. It wasn't just a movie that made you sit back and be like, wow, these messages are powerful. It made you laugh. The cinematography was crazy. Answer brought up before, if you guys noticed, I kind of didn't jump in a whole lot on Answers because I wanted to save a little bit.
Well,
the Rock,
Dave's.
the Rock universe, like
Oh, yeah, that's great.
the Rock universe, they had like a cartoon universe. Like it was a brilliant movie from start to finish. And even if you didn't pull lessons out of it like me, you had to have enjoyed it. So my number one movie that we reacted to in 2022 is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Dave?
Yeah, so for my number one, and it's already been discussed, 1989 was a life-changing year for the old Diamond Dave there. That is when I was introduced, as many of you probably, to Mr. Michael Keaton as Batman. From that day on, I have been a huge Batman fan. Now, granted, I don't dive into the comics, so I'm not going to consider myself an expert on Batman by any means, but I still am a huge Batman fan. Batman Returns, phenomenal. Of course, you have Batman, the two with Val Kilmer, and of course George Clooney.
Well, no, you're
Yeah,
okay, that way.
Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, whatever. We'll just leave those as is, even though Val Kilmer wasn't that bad. It just, got a little too cartoonish for my tasting. Then we get swung into Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale, who took, personally, in my opinion, took movie cinema and took it to a new game with The Dark Knight Rises. Rest in peace, Heath Ledger, because I actually did some reports on him when I was in college. If you haven't fancied yourself and you are a huge fan of Heath Ledger, the way he portrayed the Joker, lots of great detail of what he did. What personally got me is how he locked himself in his apartment for God knows how long to study multiple things, especially the voice. Again, I won't go too far into that. It's just phenomenal, so I do recommend you checking that out if you didn't know that. So, of course, now we swing into Mr. Robert Pattinson's adaptation of it with Matt Reeves of The Batman. I will say quick, when I first heard the news come out that Robert Pattinson was going to be the Batman, I will fully admit the first thing that came out of my mouth was the guy from Twilight. And I was not. I just thought, God, what kind of direction are we going in here? When the trailer dropped, I've never done a 180 so fast on anything in my life when it comes to movie and films.
See, at least you'll admit it.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I was 100% wrong. Glad I was 100% wrong. Paul Dano as Riddler, the way they portrayed, we need some more serious takes on the Riddler. We do need some more going into the future of the Batmans. I really do hope they give us more on Bane. Now, yes, he's been portrayed in that trash Batman Robin. And Christopher Nolan's take on Bane with Tom Hardy.
Come on.
Dude, I wish we would have got a fourth one. You can kind of nitpick on the story that Nolan told in that one a little bit, but I still rather have seen Tom Hardy as Bane one more time. I'm hoping that Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's adaptations do bring in more villains from the comics that don't get enough shine. While I appreciate what they did with the Joker, with Barry in this one, please don't bring him into the second one. Save him for the third. Bring us new villains. Give them some shine to make this even better. And Matt Reeves' take on this Batman was absolutely phenomenal. The way they portrayed the detective, the way that Robert Pattinson and him agreed, hey, we want to give you more of a grunge. I know some of you said emo, but it was more like, I want that Nirvana grunge. That's why I got Nirvana.
They better bring in Clayface for the next one.
All I got to say is it blew me away. Loved every second of it. Especially now, again, here's where I'm going to show you that I didn't know anything about comics of the Batman. That reveal that Oak brought up with Martha, that's in the comics, according to a lot of you in our comment section on that one.
Whole story.
So to me, from only seeing it from the vantage point of some anime versions of Batman and the live action Batmans, seeing that bomb drop was
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was awesome. So again, my number one is Batman. To recap, because I forgot to do that, it was Ghostbusters Afterlife, number 5. Number 4 was Multiverse of Madness. Number 3 was Everything Everywhere All at Once. My number 2 was Spider-Man No Way Home. And of course, my number 1, Batman. So international number 1.
Yep.
Guys, I don't know how you didn't bring this up. RRR.
I know.
I mean,
it was tough.
I'm sorry.
absolutely crushed it.
It was good, yeah.
As good as it was.
It's fun going into those having zero knowledge
idea.
and just knowing you're going to have fun with the way
Under the
India
Red
presents
Hood
their
is-
movies.
Yep.
I've seen it.
Again, RRR would be my number 1 international film. You had the action, you had some story, you had
Some action.
I will say, and we said it in our reactions, the India cinema, Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, all that we're counting. They come up with some very innovative things with their action sequences that we don't see here in Hollywood. So that is my list. And my rankings for 2022.
The Oak has to do his international.
Well, he said his international. It was Sardar
I did
Udam.
say that my international
that's
favorite
right.
was
That's right.
Sardar Udam,
right.
just because.
Yeah, somebody.
The history.
Look, I'm
Just learning
43 and I consider myself a history buff, and I don't want to say it's embarrassing, but it's shocking to me that here in the United States we don't have literature, we don't have documentaries, we don't have anything that teaches us about this this period in history. So it was an incredibly powerful movie for me. Again, that given the nature of the movie, it's not something that we're like, oh, you had to.
Yeah.
I recommend seeing it. And I think it was very powerful. I will look
And it's free on Amazon Prime.
It's
too,
free
I
on
believe.
Amazon
So,
Prime.
so it's not like you have to go your way or do anything like that.
I
Also,
will say
real quick, super chats are now on. If you're interested in your super chats, feel free to bring those in, and we'll probably spend some more time here talking with you guys.
says we don't believe in physics. Look, throwing motorcycles at people, shooting arrows straight
It was
through
awesome.
trees, straight through 2-foot trees to use as anchors so you can swing.
It was
and,
great.
and we talked earlier about that. Like sometimes you just want to go to a movie and be entertained and not think. And if that's where you're going, let's just go way over the top with the action. And when I first started watching these foreign movies for the channel here, again, not the genre that I had ever seen before, I was like, wait a minute, did he just like tackle a tiger? Like, wait, he's wrestling like a bull. I was like, wait a minute, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
You
Bahubali definitely cranked it up with that
and
for sure.
Look, and the other thing, like you start, like the first time you see them bust out into like a musical and a dance like routine, you're like, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
Are they dancing in the movie? And like by the time you're on like the third movie, they're like, all right. And the one in RRR was wild.
Oh yeah, I mean that whole film was just phenomenal. You know, and real quick here too. Again, folks, super chats are on if you wanted to get a part of them. I know some of you were asking about them. They are now on.
Scenes in Twilight.
For TV shows, I'm biased. I'll always say that Walking Dead is phenomenal. Well, it's good. But I will say Stranger Things season 4 was absolutely breathtaking for TV for 2022.
Because I was going to bring that up for when you like Ghostbusters, because like, what did you watch first, Ghostbusters or Stranger Things? Because didn't it doesn't
Stranger Things
Ghostbusters
came out a
kind of
couple
have?
years ago,
Well, yeah, I know,
before.
but what you reacted to because you hadn't seen it since this year. So like, didn't Ghostbusters kind of remind you a little bit of Stranger Things? Or
I mean,
vice versa?
not really. I mean, for my taste, Ghostbusters was in its own like separate from Stranger Things, for at least in my opinion. So. We do have a super chat that came in from Griffin Storm. Highly recommend Hamilton, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. A new take on American history, instant classic, unique, funny, a musical for people who don't like musicals. So, funny story.
Yeah, we've heard about
we
I don't know how you
we have
haven't
quite
heard
the
of
bucket
Hamilton.
of requests for that. We are going to work it
Really?
in. We will say the reason why we're hesitant. It will happen. Reason why we're kind of hesitant for YouTube purposes, and we know there's reactions, but our luck, folks, Murphy's Law.
especially.
If it can happen, if it can go wrong, it goes wrong for us 1,000%. So we will do it. We'll do our best to make sure the YouTube cut doesn't get any strikes or claims or anything like that. So
Just if you're
Because musicals are
music, so music. It's different. It's difficult editing musicals for YouTube sometimes because the singing and the music is such a a huge part of the movie itself. So YouTube's a little bit trickier with that. You know, like if there's action going on and you cut the soundtrack out of the background, it doesn't necessarily impact it. If there's somebody singing a song that's part of it, you know, that's
oh wow,
that's it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Another
Super
one.
chats are coming in. Vin, I'm just going to say Vin because I don't want to butcher your name. So Vin comes in with, man, you have to watch The Empire's New Groove, a Disney movie that never gets old. Great comedy. Also,
Awesome.
Oak would like to know that RP said that playing Edward was like pretending to be constipated.
Yeah, like I've heard too that he's extremely grateful for everything that has brought him, but he
cringes.
did not. He just doesn't like it.
You know, first off, The Emperor's New Groove, I haven't heard of that, but you know,
It is great. David Spade, Patrick Warburton.
I'm sold at David Spade. I'm an old
It's
like
freaking.
SNL
I'm going to
fan.
see him actually in Appleton next Friday. He'll be at the PAC.
That'll be fun.
Can't wait.
I'll be at SmackDown. Yeah. So the acting from Robert Pattinson was interesting, and I remember the first scene where Bella walks into the science lab and he goes,
Yeah,
and then like she sits down and he's like staring at her. Like I can imagine, even as a young, like maybe relatively inexperienced actor, like trying to explain. You know, I'm sure he read the books leading in, but now just pretend like you're as uncomfortable as you could possibly be. Maybe cover your mouth like you're gonna vomit.
Yeah.
You know, it was hilarious.
Jashawn, oh, I hope I said that right. My apologies.
Jashawn?
Will you react to certain chapters of the Potter books?
Oh, I saw that.
So with the Harry Potter book reviews, we are going to continue to do them live. This month, that might be at the end of January here or early February for
It's the biggest haters.
for book 2 coming in for a book review live stream from the Oak.
Yeah, so I've been going through the audiobooks. I actually started back in the summer. So basically when we finished, I started going through the audiobooks. I got through a handful. I got through the first 4, I believe. And then when we started talking about doing them as live reactions, I kind of pumped the brakes just because I know, like, okay, if I get all the way through and then we do a reaction, I would like it to be a little bit more fresh. I've done a few rewatches of the movies in the interest of being able to discuss the differences between the books and the movies. I am doing, if anybody wonders, I'm doing the audiobooks by Jim Dale. Which are phenomenal. They're super captivating. He does a great job of using different voices for all the characters. And for those of you who didn't know, I just don't absorb things as well reading. And also, you know, I can if I'm shoveling or walking on a treadmill, I can listen to the book. So those will be coming.
Melanie Wood comes in with a super chat. Thank you very much all for, if I didn't say that, thank you all for the super chat so far. Would love to see the reaction to the Haunting of Hill House series. Anything Mike Flanagan is amazing. So great news.
Funny you mentioned that.
Great news. We are currently in the middle of filming or the Haunting of Hill House. The first 3 full reactions are up on Patreon as we speak. Episode 4 comes this week as well, up on Patreon. We plan on doing 2 reactions per YouTube cut. So just a little bit more time before they come to YouTube, but those are currently being filmed as we speak, Melanie. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah.
All right. We got another one. I went too fast. Shotgun Betty, thank you very much for the super chat. Try the Starving Games. I desperately hope you haven't seen The Boys yet, and that's on the future list. Thanks for a lovely midday sesh. Rock
thank
on,
you for
boys.
joining.
Awesome news right there too. The Boys is going to happen before the next season drops, so you probably will start seeing something on Patreon, YouTube in that realm, probably around summertime, so we can get these 3. Can start watching season 1, and that way we're ready for season 4 when that comes out. So thank you very much for that.
Did you get Kowsar done? He had one.
Oh, cows are dumb. Thank you very much.
We love the Kowsar done. Come on.
Just wanted to say you guys are pure souls, and reactions really make my day. what's the next anime, and would you consider the Vampire Diaries?
No, the Vampire Diaries.
So,
You want
You want to see my face?
no idea yet on the Vampire Diaries. We're still talking. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't
but
even know anything about that.
the next anime ones that are coming. So once we finish Avatar: The Last Airbender, we are going to
going great
have
so far.
We're gonna the next installment will be Invincible, and then after that, Arcane, and then I'm pretty sure 99.9 that Attack on Titan will be following Arcane. So that's currently the schedule for the animes that will be coming. So definitely more coming your way for sure.
Is the Vampire Diaries, is that like a multiple series episode thing, or?
It's a couple.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's a
'cause
couple
wasn't that
seasons.
like a
I've never seen an episode,
wasn't
but
that
I
like
think
a
it's couple
CW
seasons.
Oh,
show?
it's a CW?
I
Oh
believe.
boy, I can
Oh,
only
it was the
imagine.
Vampire Diaries. What was the show with Sarah Michelle Gellar?
That was
That's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
There's a lot of Vampire Slayer. Somebody brought up what was it? True Blood.
Yeah, True Blood was HBO.
I've seen
It's
True
a
Blood.
good
That's
vampire
one.
I
show.
haven't seen that.
So
And Dave, you brought up TV shows, and I just wanted to throw one out there that I really enjoyed that you and I took a look at, and that was Squid Game. I think that was a worldwide phenomenon that kind of captivated everyone. Dave and I did a reaction to it, and that was
Can't
something
wait
else.
for
There's
season
only
2.
there's only 8 seasons of Vampire.
Oh boy, is there an abridged version?
I've heard
Cliff
of
Notes?
Grimm.
Thank you for the super sticker. Also,
yeah, thank
Brittany, still going to recommend Full Metal. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alchemist?
Alchemist.
Alchemist.
Brotherhood is amazing. Also, my 2-year-old son is sitting on the couch playing with the Twizzard's Cup.
Try Wizard.
Try Wizard. Sorry, Try
Come
Wizard. I'm
on.
looking at a distance here.
He's under a lot of pressure.
Looking at a distance.
Full Metal is also on the list. So that is also going to come too.
I'm intrigued.
I think you had another one, Dave.
No, that was the sticker.
Oh, that was
No,
the,
we got another one.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, we just did, huh?
Nope. Okay, so
No,
that
no,
one's still there.
yeah, that
I
one's
think
still
we
there
caught up.
because
I'll
it-
keep checking here just in case.
Vampire Diaries is 8 series with 20 plus episodes.
Guys,
Oh, yeah, that's,
season-
that's
man.
deep. That's deep.
8 seasons.
That's a
boy,
lot.
Wow,
I
you
was
guys should
just
jump
saying.
into Lost.
Yeah. Boy, that'd be a lot of vacation time from the old JOB to burn up.
Thank you, Alley Cat, for the sticker behind the
super
scenes.
sticker.
Yeah, we appreciate the
Super sticker. Sorry.
Yeah.
If I missed super chat, tell me. Otherwise, Jay Sean,
Yeah.
you should watch Three Idiots as a full emotional, as it is full of emotions, and Oak will love the lessons throughout the movie. Great news again, folks. We might as well just expose the whole list.
Yeah.
So great news again.
Trying to
Three
ruin the
Idiots.
surprises.
Three Idiots is coming in February. So be on the lookout for that. February, Three Idiots is scheduled.
Yeah, because that's been requested since
lot.
like day one, it seems, of the channel. for
What?
sure.
Someone's
Lost
also
is
saying
only 6 seasons.
Grey's Anatomy next, boys. There's only
Wasn't-
like
isn't-
19 seasons.
Isn't
or something like that.
Supernatural like 20
to Brian
seasons?
Brian Holcher, my most like my deepest like going down like the, I don't even want to say the rabbit hole, like my hardest like TV show binge ever was Lost. I got so hooked. There was weekends where, I'm not exaggerating, where I didn't see the sun. I'd be up at like 6 a.m. It'd be like 8. But they left every episode of Lost, if you haven't watched it, every episode ended with a major cliffhanger. There was never like, oh, tune in next week. It was always like major. I can't imagine watching it like in real
having
time.
to wait.
Jasmine, thank you very much for the super chat. Found you guys because of Potter and stayed for all the rest of your great reactions. Just want to suggest the best anime, which is coming to our channel very soon, is Arcane. So thank you again for the super chat. Arcane is
Everybody
coming.
just playing spoiler in our chat today.
Graham, hey, number one, still cool you got to sit next to Brian Shaw. Oak. 2, any news on Kung Fu Panda or How to Train Your Dragon? So I can confirm How to Train Your Dragon is coming in February.
More spoilers.
All 3 movies. So yeah, we're just giving the February schedule away. So all 3 movies are coming in for How to Train Your Dragon in February. Kung Fu Panda isn't scheduled yet, but it's a guarantee that's going to happen way sooner than later.
I think that one will be fun.
So thank you,
I've seen
Graham,
the
for
first
your
one.
super chat. Christina comes in. I know you all love Alan Rickman. I love 90s Tim Allen. Have any of you all seen Galaxy Quest? It's one of my faves. So excited for the boys.
You guys seen it?
Galaxy
I have
Quest?
not.
No, I have not.
No?
I haven't seen Galaxy Quest. We did watch another Tim Allen movie, right? The Santa
Yeah,
Claus.
someone was wondering why it
right
wasn't on
before
your list.
Christmas.
I've seen Galaxy Quest once, and it couldn't have been much longer after it came out because I remember I watched it on HBO, and yeah, that one
thought
was
you
a
were gonna
lot
say
of
you
fun.
watched it on VHS.
No, from what I remember, it was a lot of fun. And I just remember being like, wow, Sigourney Weaver's gorgeous as a blonde. So I've seen that one. These guys haven't. Maybe we'll throw that one on the list.
Another one, the J-Mac. Thank you for your super chat here. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is Guy Ritchie's first big film, and it was great. I haven't seen it.
I have
I've
not.
heard about it, but I
Neither
haven't
have
seen
I.
it.
As a huge Guy Ritchie fan, I have seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and I agree with you. It introduced me to the world of British gangster movies, and I absolutely loved it, and pretty much everything he does subsequently. I was going to put Wrath of Man on my list, but they said I couldn't do it.
No,
There.
because we
2021.
We
I know,
did
it was
it
a year.
last because we did it last May.
2020.
Not even in
2021.
2021 May.
2021.
I haven't seen a lot of the Guy Ritchie. Was Snatch Guy Ritchie?
Yeah.
I
haven't seen Snatch either.
I've
seen
seen
Snatch either,
bits and
but-
pieces of it.
go.
No,
That's one.
is there somebody who says the word dag, like it calls a dog dag? And
Yeah,
hey,
that's the
dag.
gypsies.
Okay. I had
Nice.
one of my best friends from high school, Drew Romanesco, just like he always calls, hey, it's dag. I'm like, why are you always calling him? The movie Snatch, you got to see it. But I think I've seen bits and pieces.
Oh, I wish we could go down that rabbit hole of all of the early Guy Ritchie stuff: Lock, Stock, Snatch, and
No,
just
you know
Snatch
them
is
all.
going to happen. You just three of us just said we haven't seen it, so
Yeah,
Snatch
so that-
should
that'd be
happen.
good.
Heard great things about
Bits
it.
and pieces.
Rhea comes in with the super chat. Thank you very much. Hi from London. Cheers. Would you consider rewatching The Wire? I personally
I've
haven't seen
never
The Wire.
seen The
I haven't seen The Wire either.
I think I saw maybe
I
like
was intrigued by
I saw like I think maybe a handful of episodes of The Wire. I vaguely remember some of the characters and what was going on, but I know I didn't make it past like the first couple episodes. You know, we just got busy with things like the channel and whatnot, and I think I started rewatching it just before we started all of this stuff. So it went to the back burner for me.
Yeah, folks, more anime / Pixar movies are coming as well. At the end of the month, actually, we have Wall-E coming. So I know a lot of people wanted
That'll
Wall-E.
be fun watching that one.
Jay Sean, have you watched The Blacklist? One of the best series I ever watched, but it has 9 seasons and 20 episodes
Oh,
plus,
jeez.
but very impressive.
Is that one with what's
Thank you again for the super chat.
Is that Spader?
It's Spade.
James Spader?
James Spader, yep.
Yeah.
I've heard great things about that. It's funny, like when you start doing a reaction channel, of course, the people who follow the channel and the people that we have on Patreon recommend. That's where we get so much of our content from. And as I've said a million times, you guys are knocking it out of the park. But it's interesting, like once like your friends and family find out, like you do, hey, you ever watch this? And Blacklist has been brought up a bunch of times. But we do it like, oh, you know how many seasons? Well, I don't know, you know, like 10 seasons or something. Was it like an 8 episode, like a Netflix thing? No, man, there's a lot of them. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess the answer is never say never, because we'll never say never to anything on here. So don't know.
I guess it all depends how big the channel gets and if we can quit our day jobs and just do this full time.
Good point.
So what's our schedule like? Well, we're going to watch 8 episodes of The Wire.
Yeah.
All right. So Why Though comes in with a super chat. Thank you very much. Love you guys. Can't wait for all the fun reactions to come in 2023. Much love from the UK. Hey,
neither can
cheers. Thank you
Cheers
again.
to you.
We appreciate you. Right? We appreciate all of you. So
Yeah, neither can we, because like we have seen so many movies we wouldn't have seen before. We've gone out of our comfort zone, so to speak, and have enjoyed like at least 95%.
I
of
may
it.
still. I was in the UK in September. Originally, I was supposed to. I was in Birmingham for work. I was supposed to fly into London a few days early and take the Potter tour
Harry
in
Potter
London,
tour, yeah.
then go to Birmingham. Wasn't able to do that. Flew into London, went straight to Birmingham, and back to London and home. I potentially have 2 trips to the UK in 2023. Either to London or Birmingham. I'm not 100% sure, but if I'm in London again, which I'll likely have to fly through London, I am definitely going to do my absolute best to spend an extra day and take the Potter set tour. So I'll be over in the UK a few times in 2023, and I'm hoping to get some Potter content.
Daniel comes in with the super chat. Thank you very much. Hey guys, first time on Patreon because of you. Love every reaction. I would really like if you guys give a chance to Sense8. Really underrated. Thank you again for being a supporter over there. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you again for the super chat. Sense8. I've never heard of it.
I haven't.
familiar with it.
I'm not familiar. I'm actually writing that one down.
It's amazing, just a lot of censoring. LOL.
You know, what's interesting about this, and we really appreciate that. And if you're somebody recommending something that maybe we haven't heard of before, like that, we really appreciate. Because, like I said, I got to be honest. 2 of my movies that were on my top 5, Jojo Rabbit and my number 1 movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'd never even heard of. And so there's movies that people are recommending where you're like, I've never even heard of that. And we've gotten to the point now, or at least I know I have, where I've never heard of that. For me, doesn't at all mean like I immediately think it's not good. Like it's like, oh, I haven't heard of that. What's it about? You know. So please, the movies that maybe we haven't heard of that are your favorites, keep recommending them.
Yep. Vin, you're back with another super chat. Thank you very much. Do you guys have any plans for Avatar 2 when it comes to stream? And how about Avatar from 2009? Have you seen those? So Avatar, I do think is happening because I don't think everyone here has seen the first one. If I'm wrong, yeah, okay.
I've not seen it.
No, I've
Avatar 1 will be happening. Avatar 2 will also be happening because none of us, none of us went to the theater to see Avatar 2. Yeah. So we missed out. We're basically missing out on that experience.
I just like to jump in on movie series with the second one. I don't watch the first one.
I saw the first Avatar probably 60 times.
I've seen only the first 30 minutes of Avatar.
I absolutely
I was turned
loved
off by all the blue guys, if I'm honest.
I loved it. I loved the first Avatar.
What kind of reason?
And I stayed out of the theater purposely so we could do it for this channel. So we better be watching Avatar 2 for this channel.
It's coming. Avatar 2 and 1 is coming.
I missed the theater experience.
He was planning on going to
I was just kind of weirded out. I'm like, what's with these guys?
Yeah, so maybe, now that we've had, 13 years go by, you and I can give it a second shot.
Give it a
Listen
shot.
to this guy over here, Predator, big alien with dreadlocks and a mask and fangs.
I'm in.
Call me in. Oh, he's 9 feet tall and blue.
Pass.
I'm out.
I just thought of the song "I'm Blue." Dabba-dee-ba.
Cows are dumb comes in to our super chats. Thank you very much. BTS music vid reactions, maybe. I beg. With again, I'll keep referring to this Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it will. With our channel, we've had a ton of bad experiences with, which is probably why you notice now we try to suppress the music as much as possible. Now, I do know there's a ton of music reaction channels and they have their formula of how to not get copyrighted and whatnot, but we run a lot of risk with music. So I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to say maybe, long maybe. So we do appreciate you coming in with the super chat, though. Did I miss any? I know I did.
Yeah, there's
a couple right here. Okay.
Don't worry, we're getting to all.
Weaver B comes at us. Hear me out. How to Train Your Dragons must watch. It is coming.
That's
How
what
to Train
people
Your
have
Dragons
said.
is coming.
Yeah, people have
February.
been putting that over big time.
Yep,
So
February, it's
excited.
happening. Just Snav, you guys should react to Train to Busan Peninsula. Lots of action in the first. I'm open to. I haven't seen it.
I've heard of that.
I am open to doing.
Oh,
a
for
reaction
the second one.
For the second one.
Yeah. The first one was awesome.
First one was phenomenal. That was you and I on that one.
we did that one. Yeah.
So thank you again, y'all, for the super chats there. The J Mac comes at us. Also, where did the names come from for you guys? I mean, I guess I can. I can guess where Oak came from. And hi from Ireland. Answer, why don't you start?
Well, obviously, we're all fans of
Thanks again,
wrestling.
J-Mac.
Well, but with me was how we were watching Too Fast, Too Furious, and Romy Rome was wearing the Answer armband, like Allen Iverson, and Mason Quinn here goes, "You should be the Answer," and so I ran with it.
Yeah, so you needed a name for to do some pro wrestling, and I said, you know what, the Answer would
There's
be.
so many
would be
people
a
that are
good
already
name.
the Punisher or the
Yeah,
whatever.
this guy was the Punisher, folks. I mean, there's like 10,000 indie wrestlers. They all call themselves the Punisher. You got to be different.
It's an easy shirt to buy at Walmart.
For me, my name Mason Quinn. That comes from the world of professional wrestling, so that's what I went with, and I'm still here.
That's a
Yeah,
pretty good name.
the Appleton Oak is a fun one actually because Arnold Schwarzenegger, his nickname is the Austrian Oak, comes from Thal, Austria. And when I started with these guys a handful of years ago, at the time I was working for Muscle and Fitness in Flex magazine. So I've been into competitive bodybuilding. And so they were like, oh, the Austrian Oak, the Appleton Oak, it fits. And so
Man of
I got
1,000
nicknamed
poses.
the Appleton Oak. And then lo and behold, in June of 2021, I got hired to work for Arnold Schwarzenegger as a media director for the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic
as well.
each year. So I'm look, it's I get to see Arnold at the show each year. All the core planners get their handshake, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much for your hard work. So we get our interaction with Arnold each year, but I don't know that he's going to be commenting on stealing his nickname anytime soon. But so the Oak thing, yes, a weightlifting reference, but the Appleton Oak is a direct stolen thing from the Austrian Oak.
Shamelessly.
Also, please, the origin.
So, Eliza, I will answer your question real quick here. I saw where also the origin for the opening phrase about calling doctor. So, funny thing, as we were kind of growing and learning about the intros and doing what we do here currently, I reached out to Quinn one day saying, hey, we got to change. Let's do a little something different with your intro. How about say something about doctor?
Is there a doctor in the house?
Yeah, and the doctor in the house. And then Quinn came up with his spin on it. Somebody call a doctor. Of course, we're ripping off a lot of Bon Jovi here. But I was just like, let's try a catchphrase here in the beginning. Yeah. And then I pitched something to Quinn. Quinn turned it into that. So that is where that origin came from. For Diamond Dave, of course, that's my wrestling gimmick back when we were wrestling. It came up from, we'll use Diamond. David Lee Roth, lead singer of Van Halen. He was always running as Diamond Dave. So that's where Mason Quinn came up with that little tidbit. And Damone, Mason Quinn also came up with from a character from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The only difference that I changed out of that was Damone in Fast Times at Ridgemont High was D-A-M-O-N-E. All I did was change it from D-E to M-O-N-E. So that was just that slight difference. So that's where you got Diamond Dave Damone, courtesy of Mason Quinn on that one. So thank you again for the super chat on that. Some more are rolling in. Let's down, I think.
Let's make sure. Well, we're just making sure we don't miss them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Because we don't want to miss anybody.
All right, so Awesome Apocalypse. I would suggest The Legend of Vox Machina. It's also an adult animated show. It's also based on Twitch D&D game that fans raised $11 million for Kickstarter on. Wow. Oh. Well, then you could consider that added to the list.
Yeah, look, when fans speak, we listen.
Yeah,
that's what the core of our.
It's getting added to the list.
That's
You've just been added to the list.
What the core of our library has become is fan recommendations. So we can definitely do that.
Yeah. Thank you again for the super chat. Flower Dragon, love you guys. Would love if you react to the series of Discovery Witches. Also, the Norwegian movie Bolgen. I hope I said that right. English title, The Wave. Again, we'll never say never to anything. We'll definitely look into it. Add that one to the list.
The documentary of witches sounds interesting.
Yeah,
thank you again for the super chat.
That whole genre is very curious to me in the way people approach.
Yeah, I mean, American Horror Story dug into it a little bit with one of their seasons, I think, but I'd be interested to see another take on it.
Jay Sean, love the way Oak dives into the Harry Potter books.
Boom. You know, when we started
Thank you, Jason, for the super chat. Appreciate it.
When we started doing these reactions, it's like, you know, when we do a movie where it's stuff blowing up and, you know, laughs and stuff like that, it's easy to just at the end be like, I had a lot of fun. Yep. It was cool to watch this and this. But, you know, when you have something, especially something based off a book or even just a movie, that the writers and the people who create that piece put so much effort into telling a story and dishing out a lesson. I just think as reactors, we would do a great disservice to be like, "Well, that was cool, taught some good lessons, thanks." Yeah, and it's like what, you know. So in fact, you may not believe this, but I could go longer on some of my. These guys,
we have a timer.
Yes, you can. We have a timer that he totally doesn't look at.
It runs in the family. My father was. You guys think I talk a lot? My father, holy cow, hard to believe, but it's the truth. But no, I think it's important when look, we've watched some movies where I've been like, it was a lot of fun, I liked it and that. But if a movie's gonna put those lessons out, look, it's the reaction, it's at the end. If you want to drop off, we understand. But like I said, I would feel like as a reactor channel, we would be doing people a disservice. We know not all the reactors do that. Not everybody dives in as deep, and maybe their fan base doesn't expect and is cool with it. But I don't do it all the time, but with something with as much substance as Harry Potter, I had to.
Yep.
Splint here. Thank you very much for the super chat. Good day from Australia. Sorry, I kind of had to do that. It's
Good day.
Sorry, I had to.
Good day, mate.
Is that Paul Hogan over there?
Good day, which was on HBO, by the way, the other day. I often rewatch Harry Potter and Jojo Rabbit videos. Your channel brings me so much joy. Thank you so much. Please consider watching The Host. It's written by the Twilight author, but is 10 times better. Promise.
Then we're going to hold you to that promise then if we watch
We're gonna
it.
hold you to it.
Thank you very much
will
for the super chat.
You have to imagine that the author that wrote the Twilights, after those books came out,
He's like, I need
there had to be a
redemption.
period of time where they were like, I've got more money than I know what to do with. So for my next one, I'm going to take a little bit more time, and if nothing else, I need to see into the mind of the person who wrote Twilight. So this one is definitely on my list for sure.
God.
So real quick, I want to kind of do some housekeeping here because I know I keep seeing some of the comments coming in because you probably just jumped in. The Gentleman will be dropping now on Monday morning, 9:30 Central Time.
What do you
Eliza,
think we gave it as a
Real Steel. I know you've been asking that forever. It is on our to-do list for 2023, just no set date, so that's happening. Also, a lot of comments about Avatar Book 2. Right now, we want to get 4 episodes per YouTube cut. We're just hitting the 4th one in Book 2, third and fourth one for Book 2 over on Patreon. So there is going to be a little bit of a gap for Book 2 before it comes to YouTube, but just know it is happening. There was something else in there too. The other little, I'll drop this nugget. I'll drop this nugget for you guys.
Okay.
50 Shades of Grey has been discussed for a reaction for this channel in 2023. So that's probably going to happen, but we'll just throw that little nugget out there for you guys right now.
I don't know.
Also, another super chat just came in. J. Boris 007. Thank you very much for the super chat. I probably butchered your name. My apologies. Worst movie of 2022.
Worst movie that I'm guessing that means that we reacted
That we've done,
to.
yeah.
Okay.
Wait, let's get clarification. Is it what we reacted to or just what we've seen?
Well, let's do.
I assume it's reacted to. I assume it's reacted
Keep
to.
the reaction answer.
Yeah.
We'll do what we did.
Everybody's going to know what I'm picking. Twilight.
Just the first one?
The first one because I think did New Moon appear on YouTube before the end of the year?
New Moon?
Did that appear on YouTube before?
I think New Moon dropped right after.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then fine. New Moon. Well, take your pick. There you go. Come on. I mean, in Twilight, the
one's
running
tough.
was better in Smallville, a TV show 10 years earlier.
Let's see.
All right, so the people are speaking. No 50 Shades of Grey. So that's
Yeah, I heard it's.
See, that's why we give. This is why we tell you guys, and then you guys give us instant feedback.
There was people who did say the same thing about Twilight. Like, no, you guys can't watch Twilight.
I thought that there was a lot of controversial stuff in 50 Shades that might be tough as reactors to get by the YouTube censors.
We're gonna be sitting there going,
Yeah, so
You know what?
that one might be tough. We might have to do a little bit of non-spoiler research.
I always thought that Diamond Dave during certain scenes could just play the Jeopardy
thanks.
music and
Omnibus
it would
Prime.
blur out
Yes, it's
Jeopardy
New Moon
music.
Not a bad idea. Worst of 22.
Oh boy, worst of 22. Did we get to 3?
No,
Because
because Omnibus Prime said that 4 days left.
No, it's not.
That's-
4 days left in the year is when New Moon came out. So then obviously no.
Oh, okay. So then for me, it's Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, whatever.
Garbage.
No,
Hot garbage.
that was not worse than Twilight.
I had so much fun watching Twilight with you guys. It can't
Yeah,
compare.
you had fun with us. You had fun with us during Thor too.
No, that was
it was
just bad.
a garbage movie.
I'm gonna do a.
We didn't
I'm
laugh
gonna
and
do a
have fun.
tie. I'm
Yes,
actually
you
gonna.
did.
I'm actually gonna meet both these guys in the middle. I'm gonna do a straight up tie between Thor: Love and Thunder, and then between the second Twilight, Breaking Dawn.
No, New Moon.
New Moon. The first Twilight, I died laughing. You guys all saw it. New Moon. I don't know if I was just let down because I laughed the first much. After the first Twilight, and you go back and you start thinking about all the problematic relationship stuff that happened, and there was a lot of problematic stuff. I think I went into the second one looking for that a little bit more. So, but then, we're watching all the Twilights, so just because the second one wasn't my favorite doesn't mean that won't have a good time moving forward. But it's definitely a tie between the second Twilight and Love and Thunder. But if I have to put one at the bottom, it's Love and Thunder because I had high expectations for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of follow suit there. I had probably a high expectation coming into it. So I will also say my biggest disappointment of 2022 was Thor: Love and Thunder.
And that's and like you said, that's a good
rubbish.
point you bring up because
Rubbish.
if the bar is set incredibly high and it's garbage and you go in, you're like, what? It'd be like if you bought a Mercedes and it was a pile of crap. If you go buy a Yugo, you know what you're getting. So the distance to fall. is
All right,
farther.
whatever.
And I will kind of probably one B it with that, with being Black Adam. The story wasn't there, but I loved The Rock as Black Adam. But we all know what happened there now with James Gunn and crew. So I digress. Next, thank you all for the super chat on that one.
Absolutely.
Vin comes back. Thank you very much, Vin. I can say most of us love the lessons time from Oak.
Most of us.
I love when you guys elaborate about when you guys watched what you just watched, and that's what got me into this channel way more than others.
Well,
hey,
yeah.
Vin, super appreciated. We know it's kind of like a taste, right? You know, some people will just want to see the reaction portion, and some people just want to see everything. So,
Well, yeah, we're not just going to watch a movie, give it a score, and then walk off.
I think a big part of what I do is to provoke, I don't know if provoke's the right word,
Yeah, I
but
don't
to
know
facilitate
either. There you go.
discussion in the there's a lot of things that we watch where, like, I wonder what other people think about this. And, when we say throughout the movies, drop a comment, it's almost like a force thing. But there's so many times I watch stuff and I'm like, God, I wonder what other people think about this. Like the way I interpret this, is that how other people think? And if not, like, I wonder what other people think. And like people will drop comments with stuff like, and I'm like, wow, how did I miss that? And so part of, me being like, hey, this is the lesson I pull out of it, that's part of it. But using that to facilitate discussions as well. Because if we just say at the end of a movie, oh, we loved it, that's what our comment section is going to look like.
Yeah.
We loved it. But if I give my opinions and what lessons I pulled from that, and it facilitates some sort of discussion, that's where we see also this just flood of comments of people educating us, telling us their point of view. And so not only does it create good discussion, but it also creates an opportunity for learning. So
Absolutely.
that's a big part of why I like to dive as deep as I do.
Interaction.
Yep. The JMac on another recommendation. Thank you again for the super chat. On another recommendation, Hidden Figures. It's a true story about real women who helped put the first American in
That
space.
one-
Haven't even heard of
I
it.
haven't seen it, but look,
think I've
seen
heard
the
of it,
previews. Yeah, it was about the three women who were behind the scenes, and then just like their mathematical genius helped with NASA. I'm gonna jump in here real quick. I don't know if another super chat. An MG96 dropped a comment about struggling with addiction and the channel helping him out and smiles and kind of a comfort thing. Sorry, the comment flew up, but I made a point to write down who wrote it. And we receive comments like this, and it's completely unexpected. We started a podcast a while ago where we were kind of multi-format. It was kind of Diamond Dave's idea. We talked about movies every week on our podcast, and Diamond Dave said, you know what, we talk about movies, we all love that, let's jump into reactions. And we never really would have imagined that people would react this way, and we start to realize, like, you know, hey, if somebody's having a bad Friday night and they're sitting at their house alone and want to feel like they're watching a movie with, whether it be your brothers or your boys or your uncles, or I guess I'm old enough to be some people's dads, you know, we love that and we appreciate it. And it's a strange thing, like, people that we're looking at a screen and we don't know you guys, and, you know, you're reaching out and talking to us about things and opening yourself up, and we really appreciate it. And I think it's important. I think as a society, we're making a lot of really solid progress with being able to discuss mental health and problems like that. And I grew up, not personally, but dealing with family and some mental health things. And so, you know, when somebody says they're dealing with addiction or depression or something like that, and just rough patches in their life, and being able to sit down and watch our channel helps them, that means the world to us. It's not really, I got to be honest, I don't know that's what we expected when we started this channel. We thought we would have some movies, but it's incredibly welcome. And I don't want, and I've said this on previous things, I don't want anybody to ever think like this is live YouTube lip service, because the comments that we get on the channel, the ones that hit hard emotionally, they get screenshotted. You know, I'll be sitting around at 8 in the morning, I'll get a text from, you know, Answer in our group chat, like, wow, did you guys see this comment? And like, oh, there's times I've been sitting at my house, you know, my fiance looks over and she's like, what? And I'm like, oh. You know, like, we got these heavy comments, and she, you know, she'll always come over and be like, well, we're, you know, it's kind of an emotional thing for me. And she's like, well, we're proud of you that, you know, it's kind of an unintended, really positive side of what you guys do. So,
and helped with nights alone. Yeah. Hey,
brother, I've been there. I said this, you know, when I was talking about one of the Twilight movies, and kind of just, you know, breakups and going through shitty stuff, and how young people need to just understand that it gets better. And man, I went through a breakup where I for 3 months, it's like 3 or 4 months, and I watched the movie Men of Honor a million times. Oh. That was my fall asleep. I was just spent my nights alone, falling asleep on my couch watching Men of Honor. And like, if I think back, like, if reactor channels would have been a thing, man, it would have been cool for me to, you know, you don't always want to be around people. You know, it's like there's all these jokes about, like, I want to be invited to the party, but I don't want to go. Yeah. So, you know, there's like, there's, you know, this comfort, like, where it feels like you're around people, but you have space. So, you know, thank you for sharing that. And to anybody else who's, you know, maybe, you know, kind of thinking the same thing, but, you know, isn't quite ready to open up or say things like that in the comments, just know that we like hearing those sort of comments. If it's something that you're thinking, you don't ever need to say it. You can just watch movies with us, but we appreciate it and we're very mindful of it.
Thank you. Gina, thank you very much for jumping in on the Super Chats here. Surprised none of the Hunger Game movies made Oak's list. Damn, Twilight strikes again. Thank you, Answer, for sharing your story of your number one. Appreciate y'all. Proud Patreon. You all are generous. Hey, thank you again for the support.
Thank you,
here and on Patreon. We can't thank you enough for that. So
Hunger Games is my number 5.
I mean, okay, so Hunger Games did make the list. Okay.
Oak didn't have it. That was
I forgot that Quinn had it on his 5 because I was like, how did Hunger Games not make any of your list?
I actually struggled with my list. I went back through all the movies.
I had to give some love to Maze Runner. Because that was, you know, that was a really, really pleasant surprise.
If I went back through all the movies that we watched, and if I have to say why I didn't include Hunger Games, it was because I don't know that there was one individual movie in that series that really jumped out. And if you watch the reaction at the end of the last one, I went back and retroactively gave the entire series a 5. And so, like, it's an interesting story because it's one story split into 4 movies. None of those movies without the other. And I know, like, it's probably the same with Harry Potter, like, or maybe not. Like if you just watch Chamber of Secrets, it's probably a fun movie to watch.
You can probably jump in
just on its own. You know, Hunger Games, you can't jump into any of those movies. None of them really stand alone. So I think that's why I didn't pick it, is because it's more of there isn't one that I can pick out, like that particular movie. Yeah.
So I got 2 things here I want to highlight. I didn't mention it in my top 5. I wanted to give some honorary mentions real quick. The one movie that I keep going back to, and I can't put my finger on why. I'm just sucked in. I wasn't part of the reaction. Another one I was supposed to be part of couldn't make it. is Interstellar.
Yeah.
That when I was editing that thing, I was sitting there at the computer, guys. It was like 2 a.m. I'm like still wide awake. I'm like, oh my God, I should probably go to bed, but I'm sucked in by this movie. So Interstellar is definitely an honorable mention for me, even though I wasn't part of the reaction. Discord. I'm sorry. Did you guys have any honorables that you want to mention before?
See, my honorable mention was just the journey we're going through with Avatar: The Last Airbender, because I had seen it before, and just watching these two, like the joy that they're experiencing. I knew Oak would get the lessons. I knew Quinn would just love it just for what it is as a whole, and I was right, and I was so one. I'm patting myself on the back because I'm happy I was right. But to watch these guys, and especially like you guys are talking about, where I sit there and I see things, or I wink at the camera because I was like, what's gonna happen.
Yeah, Airbender was a really pleasant surprise, and it's funny because we joke with Answer because we know, like most of the movies most of the reactions do, none of us have seen it, or one of us has seen it. So there's a handful of things where whatever. And we're mindful of that, but I don't know that we ever have the experience of somebody's seen it before, like with Airbender and Answers. He leans in.
Our fearless leader is like, God, Answer, you keep looking.
So also, I am currently working on getting Discord for Patreon. Current issue though, their connected apps page does not currently feature anything for me to connect to. So I am in contact with support. They are working with us to get that remediated. So hopefully we'll have something if you are a Patreon. So hopefully we'll have that coming soon. But it's all on Patreon working with me right now to get that available for us to connect to. So, all right, Griffin Storm, thank you again for chat. All right, guys.
Did you have another? I don't know if you want to do the honorable mention. My honorable mention would have been Parasite, the same as I think Answer had it on his list for his international, but that would have been my honorable mention as one. Just a fantastic movie. We covered it. You guys know it's awesome.
Mine would have been Interstellar.
Yeah, God, that film was nuts. Griffin Storm, thank you again for the super chat. Serious question, guys. Okay,
I saw it.
Team Edward or Team Jacob? You can't go with Charlie.
Well, we haven't. I haven't seen all the movies yet. How could I possibly make that kind of decision? I
don't know. You have one guy that's 100 years older than his now wife, and another guy that just imprinted on a baby. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'd probably have to go Edward.
That's tough. Yeah.
Boy,
you go first.
I gotta be honest. It's very difficult. I think I've immersed myself in this story a little bit more than these two gentlemen have. I've read a lot of the comments. I've actually gone through and I've actually read a fair amount of literature on how relationship experts and therapists view the lessons in Twilight, which is interesting because the first we laughed, and then I'm like, wow, some of this stuff is bad, and then we watched the second one. I'm like, wow, some of this stuff is really bad, and so it's interesting because I think people talk about how look, if Edward was a responsible vampire, he would not want Bella to voluntarily turn and understand that she's making a forever decision based off of emotions that have arisen over a relatively short period of time. And the fact that so much of the movie is based on Carlisle's set law that he doesn't turn anybody unless they didn't have another choice, and he's going against that. So regardless of how in love Edward is with Bella, we did learn that, look, he hasn't been with 1,000 women. He hasn't thrown the lines out at everybody.
So he says.
So there's still something to be said for somebody who's been around. Look, he may be emotionally and mentally and physically stuck inside the body of a 17-year-old.
There you go. I like that one.
But he also has 100 years of life experience. Mm-hmm. And so there's people who say that to support Edward would be to not be that. Now, there's also some real toxic behavior on the part of Jacob. forcing kisses, saying, well, I guess if you don't want to be with me, then I'll just go into battle and throw it all away. You know, like some really heavy duty, some really heavy duty emotional manipulation on Jacob's side. Also, the thing that we really didn't catch in the books, or in the movies, but people said, is that Jacob is a few years younger than Bella. Now, as you get older,
Jacob
than Bella. Now, look, as you get older, look, if somebody's 25 and the guy's 23, or if you're 35 and 30, it's not that big of a deal.
37,
but we
41.
all do know, like in
All right, President Oak, what's the answer? Jacob or Edward?
In high school, if a girl's 17 and the guy's 15,
sitting here like
that's a
going
big
like
deal.
this, like.
And so they say I can't pick Team Charlie or Team Carlisle. I'm just giving you why it is so tough. And I think the Twilight fans deserve an explanation on why this decision is so tough. If I have to pick somebody, I got to go Team Edward. I don't want to have to make this decision. But
Why is this
Team
live
Edward.
stream all about Twilight?
Team Edward. And somebody just jumped in. What the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah, no kidding.
At this point in the series, I have to go Team Edward. I think he's better for it at this point. At this point.
KSDVL. I want to hear Oak's toxic friend zone speech. I
No,
never got that.
yeah, we'll get to that later.
The
Right now, we got to
timer would
move.
break. The timer.
I'll give you the short version.
Oh, Jesus.
Here's the short. No. For real. I'll give you the short version. If you have two people who spend a lot of time together, and the man is romantically, emotionally invested in a relationship with a female, and the female knows that she is likely never going to feel that way, then that situation needs to be discussed, and it either needs to be split, or the man needs to somehow find a way to suppress those feelings. Oftentimes in relationships that are like that, a man will stay around hoping that at some point the female says, okay,
Gives in.
oh, you're everything I've been waiting for. So
it's
it
been
can
right
be
here in
seen
front of
as
my
being
eyes.
manipulative on the female side. It can also be seen as being very, a lot of pressure on the guy's side. Like when a female says, I'm not into you. Okay, but I'll wait around until you are. Yeah. And it can be damaging on both sides. The female wants to have a friendship with a man that is platonic and it's not based off romantic interests. And the man is just hoping that something happens. The difficulty with friends, you know what? I'll stop right here. We can continue this at another time. That's the basis
You
of it.
guys now all owe $50 for that counseling session.
I can go on
It was-
for a very long time about the friend zone being an actually emotionally damaging thing for both sides.
Absolutely.
That's the
Die on
foundation
a
of it.
laptop with that.
All right. Gina comes in. Thank you very much, Gina, for your
Gina
super
again.
chat. My recommendation would be one that I worked on, Johnson.
Oh.
Ooh, interested to hear more.
awesome.
Dramedy about 4 guy friends, all with the last name. Great take on life and discussions. Plus funny.
I
Okay,
think I
nice.
saw the
I don't even
trailer
know.
for that. I vaguely
If you have a link
remember
for that, Gina, for
Yeah.
something of that, please send it our
Yeah,
way.
Yeah,
that sounds like
I-
that might be fun.
I swear I saw a trailer for that one.
Let the man speak.
All right, next super chat. God, I'm going to butcher this. Lelo Mano. Hey, guys. Again, sorry if I butchered your name, but thank you for the super chat. Hey, guys. Hope you are doing great. Love the channel. If you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend Law Abiding Citizen. Really like that one. I haven't seen
is
it.
that with Denzel?
No, it's
Or
with
Gerald Butler?
It's just Gerard Butler.
Yeah,
Isn't it
yeah.
Jamie Foxx?
It's with Gerard Butler and Jamie. I have seen it.
I have not.
What?
Neither have I.
Oh my God! It's okay. This is
It's happening.
This is it is and I'm gonna be the answer. I'm gonna be like,
This is added to the list.
it's
Maybe-
Well,
Oh,
he says, so when it's the three of us, he sits here, so he'll be able to.
it sits
Give me one of these.
Consider it done.
It's good. It's good.
Kelly C. Thank you very much for the super chat. It's
Oak podcast.
it's a little out of your guys' element, but I think you would do. I think you will love the story of the musical Hamilton.
Somebody
Oh,
requested
yes,
that
I
earlier.
I've seen
Yeah,
Wicked.
yeah.
It's awesome. Someone else has also recommended Wicked. I saw it live. That's awesome. And then I love Singing in the Rain.
So somebody requested Hamilton earlier, and I think Diamond Dave had just said sometimes with musicals, because the music is such an integral part of the story and YouTube's restrictions on music, sometimes editing
We will do our best.
musicals can be very difficult.
Yeah.
And they can be
So
tricky.
I know there's reactions out there for it, but if you've seen our luck with our videos, I've been pretty good about the last 8 months not getting copyright claims, knock on wood. But it's because, if you know, which you probably have noticed, I've pretty much stripped out any music as much as possible. So we'll definitely do our best to get a Hamilton one up.
He's off the list.
The first one wasn't
No,
bad.
the first two are good. It's the third one where she does like nothing.
Yeah.
And Griffinstrom, you are right. Although rare, men can definitely friend zone women too. I don't want that to be a one-side lecture.
Yeah, so
Hamilton.
folks,
Hamilton is so good. Hey, that's all we've heard.
Are we all caught up on the super chat?
we are caught up on the super chat. So folks, I think we're good on our Wisconsin
musical
goodbye.
and sing it ourselves.
I don't know if you want to sing it. I think you will unsubscribe real quick.
Is it musical or is it more like they do more like rapping,
it's-
right? It's like
Someone tell us. I
have no
honestly
idea.
don't
I
know.
think that's
I just know it's a musical.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I thought you could only see it on stage. I didn't think they made a movie version of it.
Well, it's like they did the filming in the
in the
theater, just
theater?
like they did with
Okay.
like Wicked and stuff like that.
Oh,
So you
a
watch
quick. So we'll end on this right here, folks. Someone asked, "What are we looking forward to in 2023 for films?" I will start off with my number one, John Wick. That's all I care about this. Well, and I've seen all the Mission Impossibles. These guys haven't, so I'm also really looking forward to Mission Impossible, which is coming to the channel.
I am gonna second year John Wick 4. I mean, come on. It's just Keanu doing an amazing job as John Wick. I want to keep seeing him do it.
Guys, Fast 10. It's all about family.
Somebody mentioned, actually a few people have mentioned the prequel to the Hunger Games. I'm really excited for that
let's
one.
see where they go with
Because
that.
the series was so phenomenal, and to get a backstory, I think will be really incredible.
Awesome. Well, folks, I think we did a good Wisconsin goodbye for you all there. So answer,
Rock and rolla.
rock and roll. That is on the list because
Yep.
I don't think everyone's seen that. So that's
I've
definitely
seen
on
them
the
because
list
it's
too.
that British gangster stuff, but you guys haven't.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh,
we got one
more.
last. We got one
Jake
last.
from State Farm.
Nice. Is it
Love the
VJ
name.
though? Is it
Love the
VJ?
name. Hey guys, are there certain types of horror movies or shows that you go too far for you, or so intense that you wouldn't be able to consider reacting to?
I think for me, if it's
thank you
done,
for the super chat.
Thank you, Jake, for the generous $5. I think for me, it's only if they're doing gore or something very uncomfortable just for the sake of doing that to get that visceral reaction out of you. If, like in Black Phone, there was some pretty heavy stuff in there, but it was done for a purpose. So it's a little bit different, whereas if it's gore for the sake of gore.
Like I've seen Hostel, but I just wouldn't want. I don't know about the reaction to that because there's some of where it goes too far. It's like, well, obviously we're not gonna do like Human Centipede or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, when something like visually disturbing is part of the story, Seven is one of my go-to movies.
Oh,
that I can deal with. If it is the story, like, what kind of story do we have? Well, we don't have one, but we'll make it really gory. Like it's like, okay, like you know what? I don't need to see that. And the reality is like there's certain things like as reactors, where are we really just the whole show gonna be like, you know,
Just reactions.
Yeah.
One last super chat from AlleyCat26. Thank you very much. Add the Northwind. Alex
good things about
Skarsgård
that
is the best.
I've
And
heard
guess
a
what?
lot.
I've heard
It
it's
is
good.
actually on the list for 2023. We just haven't
on the
decided
list.
which month we're going to do that in. Because
Yeah.
Alex
I've heard-
Skarsgård is a great actor.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about the North.
And The Lighthouse, I think, is going to happen at some point too. I know I saw some of those come in with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, Wisconsin native.
Dave, somebody just said that they're just tuning in, but this is going to be posted, correct?
Yes. So this stream is not being taken down. This will still be available as soon as we hit end here.
So if you're somebody joining in, we talked about our top movies of 2022 that we've reacted to and gone through that. Again, live stream is coming to an end unless somebody wants to sit around for another 2 hours and listen to me talk about the Friend Zone.
Oh my
I think
God.
these guys are going to shut down.
I think the dog
but
is like
this-
scratching at the
this-
door, like,
this'll-
please no, my
this'll be
ears
up.
are burning.
Okay. I'm glad to see Wisconsin goodbyes, folks. So Allison Borderland. we'll be discussing that to see what we can do potentially for that. I heard a lot of great things about that one. And then
is that one?
Just one.
That's
right
only
now.
one. Okay, so that's
On
totally
Netflix.
doable. Yeah.
And then there was a zombie one that just came out too. Save Us or something.
Save Us for Last.
Was
It's
it
on
All of
Netflix.
Us Are? Is it that one or?
I don't know. It's on Netflix. It's a zombie one.
No,
I
somebody
highly
said it.
recommend
It's a Korean zombie.
Okay.
series.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, it's
so
a
that
series. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
that's
it's,
only
it's
got
something
one.
like Last of Us or Dead or something.
Yeah,
like that.
so looking for, we're trying to work that one out too. Hey, Gladiator's also happening at some point.
Diamond Dave hasn't seen it.
Because I haven't seen it. I don't care for those kind of things. I've
Oh
said it
my
before.
God.
But for you, I'm going to do it.
Like, I don't go out of my
so
way to
hopefully
see
my
those
mind
movies, and I
will.
loved it.
Hopefully that'll change for me. All of Us Are Dead. There we go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
thank
thought
you.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
I knew it was all of us. I just couldn't remember that. Right.
The Green Mile is also happening because we all there's some of us here that haven't seen it.
I actually have not. I've seen
What's
bits
the
and
other
pieces.
one? Shawshank Redemption. Now, Oak's favorite movie.
It's a great movie.
I've never seen it. That's coming eventually as well. So we're just giving you a little tidbit into what 2023 looks like.
Bird Warrior with Tom Hardy is really good.
Haven't even seen
I
that.
haven't seen that one either. So
Yeah,
that'll be a fun
anything
one.
with Tom Hardy. Yeah.
So,
All right.
All right.
all right.
So there we go. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank
we
you
love
for
each and
spending
every
your
one of you.
quality time
love
with
the
us,
super
schmucks.
chats. We can't appreciate you enough. And so we hope you have a good rest of your day, night, morning, whichever it is for you.
Weekend.
So for Diamond Dave Damone, Appleton Oak, Mason Quinn, I am of course the answer. Good night, pals.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
The friend zone.
Oh, no good.